Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It's December the 11th, 2025, and it feels like we're at some type of a tipping point, doesn't it? As we collectively, as a group, go through the sixth year of this so-called war, or this fight, or this battle of for what? For the truth, right? To find out what's been really going on in the world that we live in all these years. Who's really been running things? Or this mysterious group of people that we cannot seem to identify who have been running our world, right? Behind the scenes, behind the veil, if you will, since before your great-grandparents were even born. And I've been going over a lot of old videos, and I forgot that I started this journey on YouTube, right? And it's interesting that I'm back on there now because I had a bunch of videos that I forgot really how many I had done before YouTube got rid of me. It was like 4 months in. So really the first 4 months, I think I started in July maybe, or August of 2020, and because I had gone on a cross-country trip in July, I know that, and I got back and I decided to activate myself. I was watching the news punditry shows and I said, these people aren't doing it. I could do a better job than what these people are doing. They're not even telling me the truth. I could see right through their lies. But there's a whole bunch of different things going on, right? I mean, you have to have lived over 35 years or more to really understand what's going on, or done a lot of research. Because some of the kids that are Gen Z, they don't remember they didn't even see 9/11 happen. They have no idea. Yeah, they heard about it, they watched video, but excuse me, did you live it? Did you smell the smoke in your house? No, right? You weren't even born yet. So I was watching Kim Goguen, her show. DOJ charges Brian Cole with placing pipe bombs at RNC, DNC in 2021. We saw that. But the feeling I'm getting about this guy is he's not the guy. That's just the feeling I'm getting. I think he's the patsy. I don't know if that's the guy. How do they know it's him, right? Did you follow him? And how come it took you so long to figure out who this guy was? Part of the other thing about what I'm trying to say is these people who are over us, right? You know, you could hear about them in different, some people call them the Illuminati. Some people call them the Khazarian Mafia. Some people call them, different groups, right? The Jesuits, right? They're another group, right? Who have been running the Vatican for a long, long time. I don't know, when did the Jesuits take power? The 1200s or something? I have to go back and look, right? So there's different groups. You could say, is it this one group running it? I don't think so. Is it a bunch of people? Is it off-world entities? I think that's where we end up, right? You got to talk about gray aliens. You have to talk about reptilians. People coming onto the planet fucking around with their DNA. Enlil, the story, right? If you look at the three major religions and do your deep research, at least the conclusion that I've come to is that you're worshiping some sort of the sun god Ra, right? You're still worshiping the sun, the Black Sun group, right? We're talking about the Black Sun group that's in power now. Those were who the Nazis were worshiping the Black Sun, right? But before that, they were just people worship the sun, right? That was the first thing that people really thought of as something above them, right? Because the sun would come up each day and it would bring light, right? It would bring illumination. You could see, right? Back in caveman days, before they had fire, you didn't want to be walking around outside in the dark too much, right? Because there was stuff out there that was looking to kill you. Saber-tooth tigers and stuff, right? Woolly mammoths, all kinds of stuff that could kill you. There were nocturnal animals, right, that hunted at night. Well, if you don't even have fire, you're in a bad spot. People worship the sun. That was the first thing people worshipped before they worshipped an organized god. There's a lot of I have a lot of videos on my YouTube page, like interesting videos to watch. Some of them are just Ascension stuff, but there's a few in there that are really good older ones that, like from, wow, I just heard a jackhammer start going. It's like the Matrix doesn't want this show going on. I haven't done a show in almost a week, and now I got guys drilling right near me. I don't know if you could hear that or not. I shut the window all the way. Of course, I wasn't expecting the drill to go off. I don't know what to do, guys. I'm caught right now. I'm going to go power through it, I guess. If you can hear it, sorry. It's not too bad. So, the DOJ charged Brian Cole with placing those pipe bombs in 2021. And everybody was saying, well, how come it took why did it take you guys so long to figure that out, right? How come it took so long for you to? Well, because they weren't looking into it. They just let it sit there, right? They didn't give a shit. What else happened? A tanker ship was taken over, right, by us, apparently, boarded by Trump. But you notice he's not going into, I don't know how this is going to be hard. It's really hard to do. It's just amazing how as soon as I start the show, like this, like literally within minutes, boom, there's a jackhammer outside. Maybe that's the universe saying, you know what, maybe you should retire. There's plenty of other pundits doing shows. Your show's not being watched by many people anymore for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's kind of messing me up that it's happening, but it's not that I could do. Right? I've done this show for almost over 5 years. And I've done it for free. I've never made 1 cent doing it, and I never will. And I guess there's certain people that don't like that, right? They don't like that some other guy's doing it just as good as them or better for free. The real racism the lefties won't talk about. I didn't really look into that article. I have too many articles here. There's 170 something links I have on this page alone. DOJ investigates College of DuPage over providing taxpayer funds to illegal aliens. Yeah, I'm going to have to not be able to do this. I'm going to have to scrap the show or hold on right now. I'm going to take a break until we can come back at a more peaceful time. I apologize. This will just be a momentary break for you, friends. Alright, sorry guys. They stopped for now, but I'm sure they'll be starting again. This has been a very long process, right? 5+ years, you would have thought, and as soon as I start back up, they start back up. Isn't that funny? As soon as I start back up, they start back up. It's just unbelievable. You can probably barely even hear it, but I can. This mic is pretty good at taking out outside noise, but so some of the colleges are getting investigated. They're giving taxpayer funds for illegal aliens. We knew that a long time ago. That's what New York's been doing for the last 2 years or 3 years, right? However long they've been letting the buses come in under Adams. And who is Adams part of? The Masons, right? The Masonic order. The people that signed the Declaration of Independence were Masons, some of them. Not all, but some. Majority, I'd say. And then what starts right at the beginning of the Masonic order? What also starts up? At the beginning of, the United States in 1776. Well, that's also when the Illuminati starts. Although it had already been in Europe before that. Right? And there were people that talked about the Illuminati and warned about it, right? Who wrote papers about it and books about it and distributed those books throughout Europe and exposed them. And a lot of the Illuminati was dealt with, as were certain Rosicrucian order before them, right? And there was other secret orders before those secret orders. And it goes back and it goes back. And it goes back, right, to like Egyptian schools of where they were teaching certain secretive kinds of information to certain people, right? The the special schools that certain people in the Egyptian culture would be sent to, right? Where you would be taught certain practices and things that most other people didn't know, right? Things that like yogis would know, and things that ancient cultures knew, like the Chinese culture and Tibetan culture, right? There were whole books and massive amounts of information was printed about these things, most of which is secretive still to this day, right? About certain health practices, ways of being, ways of living, Qigong, Tai Chi, certain things like that have been shared with the public. You can practice these kinds of movements and things to help heal your body. That's what I'm getting into more and more, holistic. I'm going to probably be taking some Qigong, which is an ancient Chinese exercise technique, right? Healing tech. That also can be a healing energy technique. Of course, Tai Chi is excellent for older people too. And if you just want to try something that's not going to hurt your joints a lot, and it's not high, it's not high impact, go try to learn the movements of Tai Chi, or take a Tai Chi course. Very good for your blood pressure, and it's like a meditation and movement. I took a Tai Chi course when I was going back to college years ago. When I was about 24, I decided to go back to college, try to get some more credits and go for a degree. I didn't finish, but one of the courses I had to take was a gym, and they offered Tai Chi. So I was taking a Tai Chi class at like 8:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock. It was great. Great way to start your day off. Totally mellowed out. Brian Cole's arrest came after Trump admin resurrected the case that languished under Biden. So something was going on with this where like nobody wanted to find out who this person was, obviously, for some reason, right? And it sat there. But we also know that the whole thing with Biden was fake. Like, that we know that Dominion voting systems were messed up, right? We knew that, but they never fixed it. And then they let Biden get in and cheat again, right? And you started to wonder, well, are these people working together on this thing? Because how come you never fixed the voting system when all you had to do was go to paper ballots? And now these O'Savin guys and the Wayne Willotts and these guys are all saying, oh, now Trump's going to declare an emergency for the 2026 election. Well, what you should have done that years ago. You should have done that 10 years ago when you first got in and said, look, they were rigging the system the whole time. We saw how they did it. What? How'd you unrig it and then you let them rig it again? See, that's where it doesn't make any sense. If you unrigged it to get Trump in, how'd Biden get in? Latest from Biden's Afghan pipeline, third ISIS K suspect netted in Virginia. So a lot of these Afghans, some of them that they let in, not all, of course, right? The majority were probably peaceful people, but there's some bad apples in there. And they already caught 2 of them trying to do stuff with guns and some other stuff, right? 2 people already, if not more. I think it's 3 now. This is the 3rd one, I think. Because there was a guy in Texas also that they caught, right? So that's 2 plus the 3rd one that they were trying to do something. Now Ilhan Omar's in more trouble, right? She's pressed to explain how the fraud in Minnesota got so out of control. Well, that thing is going to metastasize. It looks like it's turned into a much bigger thing than anyone ever thought. What about all the COVID fraud? What about all the people that got loans that didn't have to pay it back? That was a fraud, right? The whole thing was a fraud. Right? Remember Omicron? Remember the Omicronians? Remember how they kept changing the name? Oh, now it's Omicron, which is what, moronic or something? Right? If you just change the words around. Yeah, because you people, they think you people are a fucking bunch of morons. Now what? They're saying, oh, they're going to try to release another. Now they're saying it's a superbug flu, norovirus, and one other thing, right? Yeah, it's a triple threat. The flu comes every year. It mutates, right? But why does it come every year? It doesn't seem like the flu is a naturally occurring thing, does it? Kills a whole bunch of people too, doesn't it? How did Minnesota get so far out of control? Because you people are doing a massive fraud, and if the governor's in on it, well, that's it, right? You got the biggest guy in the state in on it. Same thing with like in Arkansas. How could they smuggle all that cocaine into Mena, Arkansas when the governor was Bill Clinton. Well, that's why, because the governor was Bill Clinton. And he's selling coke with his brother, right? That's what these dudes are doing. And they're laundering the money for you too, right? With the New York banks back east. Luna drops bombshell numbers tying Congress members to Big Pharma, Vanguard, and BlackRock. They're all bought up. They're all owned. Almost 95% of them. I don't know anybody who's almost nobody can self-fund their own campaign. Unless you're a billionaire. What was his name? Self-funded his own campaign. And he almost took out the big guys, right? What was that guy from Texas? I always forget his name. The short guy. You remember. Tim Walt says people are driving by his house and calling him retarded. Quote, I've never seen this before. People are driving by my house using the R word in front of people. Well, some people might think you are that thing. I won't say the word again, but, you got some problems if your state has that much debt. And people stealing. And it's also flooded with Somalis. Trump admin making good on promise to send more water to California farms. He's also had to give the farmers a whole bunch of money, right? Because why? China said, we don't want your soybeans. Remember how I was saying we should have used that as a tool to negotiate, but they actually used it against us. Maybe the Chinese are listening to my show. They said, hey, how about the soybeans? We just won't buy them from you anymore. How about that? All right, well, we don't need to grow that many soybeans. We should be growing other crops like hemp. We should be growing massive amounts of hemp and stop logging our forests. We should be releasing all hidden technologies that haven't been released. I just was watching one of the later Jordan Maxwell speeches that he did, and he was talking about, it was called Order Out of Chaos, which I thought was great, and I think this was from like 2019 or something like that. Jordan Maxwell's passed away, I believe, by now, but he left a treasure trove of videos that have informed me and many thousands of other people about many different subjects, from religion to maritime admiralty law to, and the stuff on religion that he's done and astrotheology and stuff like that is just super interesting, because you realize that astrotheology is a big part of what's ruling over us. And if you look at all the seals of all the different states, like we went over before, in the United States, the majority of the seals of the United States have the rising sun in them, right? A lot of the old countries also. Let's see, the seal of Ohio, let's just say, find that. Let's see if that is a rising sun in it. Yeah, there's a rising sun. It's right there, right? Hey, why is the rising sun in so many of these Ross County rising sun? Seal of the state of Ohio, rising sun. I think New York has it too. Seal of New York. There's the eagle and the rising sun, right? You're worshiping the sun god, right? It's the same. You're going back to the Romans, right? What did the Romans have? They had the eagle, right? The gold eagle over when they marched with their troops. You're still in a Roman kind of configuration in your country. You right? We haven't evolved. We're stuck in a system that's been given to us. Just like all the religions are all created, right? They're all created from pieces of other earlier religions. That's all they are. That's what all the Muslim religion is. That's all that Judaism is, and that's all that Catholicism is. It's just pieces of other earlier religions, or pieces of things like I forgot the Hammurabi's code, right? There were ways that men conducted themselves before there was the Bible, before there was the Ten Commandments, right? There was Hammurabi's code. There were certain codes of men and honor. There was honor, right? Where, okay, I'm not going to steal from you and rape your wife and kill you and steal your land, and I'm going to be an honorable man, right? Like the Knights of the Round Table, same thing. Merlin, right? Where, hey, we're going to be honorable. We're not going to subjugate the people anymore the way we've been doing with these kings who are levying all these unfair taxes on the people, right? You didn't even get to own the land then, right? The king owned all the land. He would let you maybe work some of that land for him, maybe if you gave a lot of your taxes and your stuff to him, right? Is it time to end the FBI? Yeah, you should have never had the FBI or had it some other way. And then you should have definitely not let J. Edgar Hoover run the FBI for, I don't know, 6 or 7 different presidential terms. I think it was 6, which is like 25 years or more. He was in there, right? A long time. And he collected quite a bit of compromat on a lot of different very, very powerful people to keep himself in power. I wrote the Honduran leader had in fact smuggled over 400 tons of cocaine. This is the Honduran leader that Trump pardoned. This guy had smuggled 400 tons of coke into the U.S., not $400 million worth. So I made a mistake. I apologize. That's a lot more than $400 million worth of coke, right? That's billions of dollars. Why would you let a guy who smuggled billions of dollars in coke into the country that you're the president of off the hook with a pardon? That just totally doesn't make any sense unless you're complicit with the deep state. Trump is, in my view, being run by the Black Sun. Rubio announces new U.S. foreign aid model that cuts out NGOs. CDC changes hepatitis B vaccine recommendation for newborns. Yeah, why do I have to give my newborn a hepatitis B vaccine right away? I don't think that's necessary. FBI raids the home of a high-ranking DEA officer under Obama, charges him with conspiring to launder millions of dollars for the Mexican drug cartel. This could metastasize into something very, very big. If you remember, there was under like Rosenstein, right? If he just disappeared, but remember, there was all these allegations that there was the hammer and scorecard that these guys had created, which was spy stuff, right? They were listening to everybody. But this is about laundering money for the drug cartels, right? This is about big money. And what about all the illegal alien kids that under Biden who were snuck in? That's why Biden was allowed in, because they wanted to smuggle a whole bunch of illegal alien kids into the United States for adrenochrome production and sex work or other, right? Whatever else they used for. Food, I'm assuming too, for the reptilians. Because we haven't dealt with what's under the ground, right? What's in Area 51 deep in the bottom of all these bases is alleged to be Greys and reptilians working in there, no human beings. If that's true, we gotta exterminate those people, all of them. They all gotta be exterminated. And there's so much shit that's inside the earth, I'm assuming, like creature-wise, that, yeah. Did you ever see that movie, The Descent, it's called, where like all those 5 like female cave spelunkers go all the way down into this cave and like they find these creatures that down there? Well, that's real, I'm assuming. Right? There's certain cave systems in the United States especially that go super deep, where some of them are submerged in water and some aren't, and some are both submerged in water and not submerged, right? I forgot. I watched one YouTube where these guys go through one of these systems, and it's like, I can't imagine why anybody would want to do what these guys went to. It was such a harrowing, scary, difficult, cold experience. You know, it's just, there's nothing that looks to me like fun, like where you're scared half to death part of the time. Yeah, so. The FBI on Friday morning raided the home of a high-ranking DEA official under Barack Obama and charged him for conspiring to launder millions of dollars for a Mexican drug cartel. Who is this guy? Paul Campo and Robert Sensi were charged with narco-terrorism, narcotics distribution, and money laundering charges. Campo and Sensi were arrested on Thursday afternoon in New York, according to the DOJ. Campo and Sensi agreed to launder $12 million and participate in narcotics trafficking for the Jalisco New Generation cartel. That's like not a lot of money, right? 12 million bucks? Like that's like pocket change to like a cartel guy. That's like one run, right? Not even. It's like a small coke run or something. Like what are you talking about? Maybe that was just the first taste and they were trying to set these guys up. Doesn't look like it, because you weren't running some kind of undercover operation. You were just working directly with the cartel. So I'm assuming more that the DOJ is heavily compromised. You can read more about that article. I just can't pause on it too long. I have too many things to cover. U.S. Border Patrol to charge illegal aliens with a $5,000 apprehension fee, but they're not going to have it. How are you going to enforce that? The guy's probably got like $5, $10 in his pocket. I mean, yeah, some of these guys have money on them, but not most. But hey, if you do have money, then hey, you got to pay. If you don't got the money, then you got to leave. Right? Because we'd make a lot of money if you get charged all those illegal aliens $5,000 to get in. Former Obama official indicted for cartel-tied money laundering, double confirmation, PJ Media and Gateway Pundit. That could metastasize into getting Obama in the end, right? But they never got Clinton for MENA, what he did. They never touched Clinton for Whitewater, which was a land scam. Hey, let's build one of those, let's buy a bunch of land, we'll blade some roads in, we'll cut it up into 5-acre pieces and we'll make a ton of cash, right? But only if the people come and buy it and make houses there. Photos emerge of Somali illegal alien fraudster with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Rep Ilhan Omar. So the guy that just got busted doing like this massive fraud, he's been seen with Ilhan Omar and with Tim Walz, both. And I'm assuming he probably gave them money at some point. How Chihuahua walking autistic like pipe bomb suspect Brian Cole Jr. stumped Biden's FBI for years. I don't know, I just don't get it. They said at first they thought that though they had this thing, this software that watches your gait, and they said, oh, it's a woman, right? They were saying. It seems like they knew who this person was, if it is him. Army veteran Ed Bombas, 88, received a $1.77 million check from Inspired Internet donors. Yeah, Ed got taken care of, thank God. Thank you for your service, Ed. Bombas, you deserve it, right? He's a Vietnam vet. His wife got very ill. His pension was taken away when GM went bankrupt in, I think it was 2012 or 9 or whatever it was. And he found himself having to, at 88 years old, go back to work because he had to sell his house to pay for his wife's care when he lost most of his health insurance. And this kid was just like, why are you working here? You just want to work? Or it's like, no, actually, I'm 88 and I don't want to work 5 days a week. No, I'd rather not, man. I'd rather be trying to maybe play some golf and work on my flexibility and work out a little bit and maybe whatever, right? Find a new girlfriend? I don't know. I sure as fuck don't want to be working in some store, having to stand for 6-7 hours a day at 88 years old. That's tough. I used to work a security job years ago where sometimes they put you on a post and you just have to stand there. Can't walk, can't move, just stand at a post, stationary. I don't want you strolling, I don't want you moving. You're at that post for 7 straight hours. Do not move. You're not on a rolling rotation, you're not roving. Stand at that spot. That's not easy to do, man. For 7 hours. And you got to be, keep your eyes in your awareness about you. That's hard, difficult job. Try to stand at the same spot for 7 hours straight, not moving around too much. Tell me how your back feels the next morning. You'll be half crippled. Most people can't even do it. It's a hard job. You ever remember the guys working the toll booths? That was a hard job. Before that all went to Easy Pass. I wrote, congratulations, Ed. You deserve every penny of that money, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry for all the elderly that have to work because they don't have enough. There should be enough for everyone to be taken care of in your. I don't have enough Social Security in my thing. When I get older, it's not going to be enough that I'm going to be able to live on it. No. I'll be in a refrigerator box, on some street corner begging for change. You'll see me. Say, hey, that guy, isn't that Ash? Yeah, remember him? He was that guy. He did that news punditry show for 6 years. He never made a dime. Now look at him. He's in the gutter. I won't be, but you know what I mean, right? Nobody should be. Nobody should be. There's plenty for all of us, right? Why does Elon Musk need to make $1 trillion a year salary, which I don't even think is real? He doesn't do that much of a job to deserve that much money. And if he would just give half his salary away for 1 year, he could probably feed all of Africa. Or most of it. The ones that needed it most, right? The Minnesota fraud scandal just got a whole lot worse for Waltz and Omar. Yeah, I mean, how are these people doing it? They were funneling money from this program, and it was going into back out of the country, basically, in the tens of millions of dollars. Earlier this month, over 400 Minnesota Department of Human Services employees accused Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz of being, quote, 100% responsible for the massive fraud in Minnesota. I wrote at the time that the Minnesota Somali fraud scandal could take down Waltz, and every day it looks like even more likely, sorry. And what do you know, the scandal just got significantly worse for Waltz and Rep. Ilhan Omar. Newly surfaced photographs show both the Democrats smiling alongside Abdul Dahir Ibrahim. And here you are. Right? Here's Waltz with Ibrahim. Here's Ilhan Omar with Ibrahim, smiling. Here's Waltz. Here's Omar. Yeah, here's Omar with Ibrahim. Bye-bye, Abdul, somebody wrote, from Homeland Security. Here's criminal illegal alien Abdul Dahir Ibrahim, who has been linked to Minnesota's top sanctuary politicians. In these pictures, Ibrahim could be seen with Ilhan Omar and Governor Tim Waltz. There's Ibrahim with some other Somalis. Here's Ibrahim with the Somali guy that was running for the mayor of, I think, another area, right? Here's Ibrahim with Omar. Here's Ibrahim with Tim Waltz. You can look at that on Homeland Security's X.com site if you care to blow that up to poster size and put it on your wall. So these people are in trouble, right? Because you got caught. And not only did you get caught, but you got caught with some guy who is robbing your state, and it looks like you may be in on it with him. Silver's on a massive run. It's still going up. It's $63.06, up another $1.07. It was up over $1 yesterday. It's on a historic run. Busting through all-time highs every day, on its way to 70 with a bullet. And probably to 100 by, I'd say, March of next year, if not sooner. I'm calling March $100 silver by March next year, if not sooner. Possibly in February. So, if you were listening to me for a long time and you heard me saying stack your silver to the ceiling, I hope you did. Not literally, because most people can't, but some people can. When silver was $20, $25, $30 an ounce, yeah, you could stack a lot of silver up because it wasn't that hard to, a 10-ounce bar was maybe $300, $250, $300, $400. Now it's, I don't know, $700. Navy has allocated $448 million to modernize its shipbuilding with AI. So they're already putting AI into stuff. But AI was already over us before that. AI was ruling over us when we were born, is my guess. You don't realize you're in a simulation of some sort. The problem, I don't know, is when does this simulation break? Does this simulation break when enough of us wake up? Because I'm starting to see on Instagram like a lot of people are waking up. There's all kinds of holistic sites now where they're showing you all kinds of stuff to take for anti-cancer stuff, anti-parasitic, all natural stuff like what we were talking about using clove and different, just natural ingredients, right? Like this woman, she did something I never seen before. She took the pit of an avocado and she cut the pit of the avocado up into pieces, which isn't that easy, but you can do it. And then she soaked the pit of the avocado in some Coca-Cola and left it overnight in a dark place. The next day, she took the avocado pieces out of the Coca-Cola and used it to rub on joints and achy joints and things for arthritis. I would have never known that. Dr. Oz warns Waltz to address the alleged Somali Medicaid fraud or lose federal funding. Will stop paying. So Waltz is in deep trouble. Not only is he the R word, but he's in trouble. Right? Dillon uncovers hundreds of thousands of illegal voter registrations. Harmeet Dillon. Yeah, but all the time, all the voter fraud you found. I mean, we reported all the way back that there was a meeting took place on the 2020 election day, right, between all these groups that shouldn't have been meeting on the 2020 election day. Different governors and people were meeting, doing stuff. Why were those people meeting? Trump regrets pardoning Rep. Henry Cuellar after the Democrat announces he's running for re-election. Yeah, you pardoned this guy and now he's running again. Nice job. Why would you pardon a Democrat? Why would you help Adams of New York? Why would you help the New York Mayor Adams, who's a Democrat? Why would you help him? You should have helped him to just get arrested. That's what he should have been. You shouldn't have pardoned the guy. He was about to get indicted. And he probably should have been. Why'd you defend him? Why'd you pardon a person that snuck $400 billion worth of cocaine into your country? Why'd you pardon that guy? Why'd you pardon Adams? Because he's a Mason, right? And so is Trump, I'm assuming. I'm watching this show called The Alienist, which is adapted from the book by Caleb Carr called The Alienist. And The Alienist was one of the earliest profilers that the New York Police Department tried to figure out, you know, when certain kinds of murders were starting to happen in the city, right? How can I catch somebody who's insane, right? How can I think like somebody that's an insane person to try to capture them and figure out how they're doing what they're doing, why they're doing it? And to this day, we're still trying to figure out why certain people do certain things, and I'm pretty sure I know why. And I was just watching something where they reminded me of it. If you remember that show, what was it called? Where it's like he creates this world. It's like a Westworld, right? I think it was Westworld, right? Where he creates this world, and it's, you know, you can go in there and like pretend you're a killer and just kill everybody, but it's all like clones and stuff, and you know, it's something that the rich do. Well, there's people doing that in a sense, but what the reptilians are doing, I think, is they can just jump into like one of our bodies, like a clone, and do whatever. So imagine if you could go into like a simulation that was completely real, because it is real, and you could be like a shooter and just start ripping the whole place up. That's what they're doing, I'm assuming. Those shooters are, and they might be MK Ultra too, but I think they're more likely it's the other thing where it's like someone's jumping into suits. Someone's jumping into human bodies, like the body snatcher type shit. They have some kind of tech that they could do it. I saw it in one movie or something years ago where they were, like that kind of thing, but I can't remember what movie that was. That's how I think they're doing the shooter stuff. And then they just jump out of that body and that person's whole life is fucked, right? Because they're in jail for the rest of their life. They probably don't even remember what happened. Trump admin has rescued 62,000 illegal alien kids from sex trafficking, child labor, borders our home, and says that's a lot, but wasn't there like hundreds of thousands that got lost under Biden, right? The January 6th pipe bomb suspect probed for possible anarchist beliefs as feds swarm his stylish suburban Virginia home. I mean, if you think about it, right, everything that you do now is surveilled, right? You're surveilled probably from the moment you leave your house, especially if you say like in a place like New York, from every step of the way there's some camera that can pick you up somewhere, right? From outside buildings, doorbell cameras, store cameras, security cameras overhead. In New York, there's cameras everywhere. So they can literally follow you, right? If you commit a crime, say on 48th Street, and they can follow you to wherever you go. And then keep surveilling you, and then eventually you'll slip up and take the mask off, or they'll see you better or something. GAO bombshell reveals Obamacare fraud on a massive scale. Obamacare was always made for fraud. I mean, I remember trying to get out of the Obamacare, paying the $100. I had to pay the $100 3 times. before I got out of Obamacare. I paid it 3 times, and they kept telling me I owed them $100. I don't know your shit. I paid it already. The last time I sent a check, I said, this is the last time, and I wrote, this is the last time I'm paying this $100 to you. This is the 3rd time. Here's a check, so you can't say I didn't pay it. Because the other time I think I tried to pay it online through like my tax thing, and it didn't work. But of course it took the $100. The DOJ sues 6 more blue states for hiding shady voter rolls from the feds. That's the thing. I mean, all these things were found to be illegal. Voter rolls, you were found to be moving ballots from New York to Pennsylvania. Nothing got done about that. The whistleblower that came forward, right? All these people came forward. All this information came out right after 2016 and 2020, and nothing got done about it. Why didn't you do anything about it then? Especially right when you had 4 years to do something about it from 2016 to 2020. Okay, now there's another drill inside the building that sounds like it's... Wow, it's a day today, boy. It's one of those days. The Matrix is flipping out, man. The Matrix is flipping out. I'll tell you what. And I know why, because it's just, it's the energy shifting so hard. Accused Chinese agent Linda's son boasted Governor Hochul much more obedient than Andrew Cuomo. So you can see that the Chinese have infiltrated the whole United States, but it looks like Hochul's controlled, right? It looks like Hochul's being controlled by I don't know what. Sorry about that noise, guys. I might have to take another break. I apologize. It might be a multiple break show. It's going to be a long one. In fact, I'm going to take this break right now just because I hate that noise, and I'll be right back again. I apologize for that. I almost stopped the recording. That would have sucked. I'm going to take a quick break. Just relax. It's going to be a long show. I got a lot to talk about. I'm probably going to be winding the shows down from now on. I'm not going to be doing it so much. I'm noticing a lot of other pundits disappearing. Some of them. Well, now the noise stopped. Okay. A lot of strange things happening right now. My coffee is kind of running out, but I got about 20 more minutes. Then we'll go on. We'll push. So we've been infiltrated by China for a long time. We talked about Yale China that was one of my earlier digs. Yale China, the Yale China program, the Rockefellers had a big part in pushing communism into China. China wasn't always a communist nation. In fact, China was our ally in World War II, if you remember, right? We wouldn't have won the war if it wasn't for the help of countries like China, Great Britain, Philippines, other countries that we helped liberate, where there's a lot of gold, right? That's why there was a lot of gold. Japanese were trying to steal all the Philippines' gold. There's still gold hoards. Yamashita's gold we talked about early on in our quests about people trying to find Yamashita's gold, which was a Japanese gold hoard that was allegedly hidden and booby-trapped, and of course the Germans were known to have gold train that they had found somewhere and other stuff like that. Britain and Norway forged naval alliance to protect the North Sea from Russia. Poll, most Americans say inflammatory political rhetoric has gone too far. I think so. Way too far. Oh, God. All right, guys. I'm going to take that quick break. Apologies for the show today. I'll be right back, friends. Thanks. Okay, guys. I'm really sorry about that. I'm back. Hopefully there won't be any more drilling. The guy's drilling a hole out there, but he's already down in the hole, so hopefully we won't hear that. Besides a dentist chair crashing through the ceiling and starting to drill into my head, hopefully we won't have any more drilling sounds. I spent more time in a dentist chair than I care to tell you right now. For 12 root canals, probably $25,000 worth of dental work minimum, and still have problems with my teeth to this day. I need a med bed. Bad. Me and a lot of other people need the med bed right about now, but you're not seeing them, are you? No. And you got the people still telling me, oh, 3-Eye Atlas, yeah, it could be intelligent beings in there. And okay, well, great, whatever. What are you going to do, a blue beam? Is that why you're loading up all this chem, like every other day in the sky, you're trying to do a blue beam? That the aliens are going to come and what, they're going to start blowing buildings up and saying it's It's that kind of thing. I don't know. I wouldn't put anything past these people. They don't want to go away, that's for sure. Inflammatory political rhetoric has been gone on way too long. People are getting killed, or allegedly killed, and beaten up, right? There's the roll up scene from Swingers if you want to see the gun scene. Roll up, dude. Roll up. That was one of my favorite movies. That's a very period piece if you want to sort of get a real 90s flick. That'll make you laugh. It's funny. Check out a movie called Swingers. And it's not about real swingers like sex swingers, no. It's just about a bunch of dudes in their 20s trying to make it, right? Kash Patel reveals how relentless police work by the FBI nabbed a DC pipe bomb suspect, leaving the $500,000 reward untouched. Yeah, nobody could find this guy for some reason, right? He just sat there for 4 years, nobody touched him. Here's a show I did from 4 years ago entitled Synthetic Biology, Programmable Yeast Cells, Bioelectric Engineering, 3D Bacteria Printing, and News. That got a lot of hits when I first put that show out on, I think it got a lot of hits on Rumble, actually. Because it was talking about synbio, synthetic biology, which is what they're doing right now, right? This is 4 years ago. Bioelectric engineering, right? We were talking about the movie Existence, right? Where that came out the same year as The Matrix, the first Matrix in 99. And what Existence was kind of talking about was a different type of, like it was talking about sort of a different way we maybe could have gone or a way we may still go, where the internet is more like alive, right? Where like your actual connection to it is through a port in your body, right? You would port in through like a port in your body to that internet back in the day, right? It was super realistic. You could check out a movie called Existenz, Existenzz, if you want to check in more about that, with Jennifer, what's her name is in it? My old crush. My old crush is in it. Cronenberg movie from 1999. Jennifer Jason Leigh, of course, who's crazy hot in that movie. Just by the way. I mean, she was always crazy hot when she was young, but she's like gorgeous in that movie. Anyway, that was 99, right? That was like Jude Law, like young Jude Law, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Good movie. If you want to kind of smoke a J and watch that, you'll probably trip out a little bit. Don't watch Eraserhead. That's another one you can't watch. Don't watch that on if you're stoned out. That won't help. That's one of the weirdest movies I probably ever saw. Ari at Home was checking out Ari at Home's older streams from the other day. He went down to Florida, sorry. Unfortunately, Ari did not win the Streamer Award. I checked. I was hoping he would. Some other guy won that didn't deserve it. I thought Ari by far deserved it for what his content is doing. And just the sheer amount of content he's put out in just a couple of years. I mean, he's got, if you look at all the music he's put out, that's easily what, 5, 6, 7 albums the guy's put out? That usually takes another person maybe 6, 7, 10 years to do the amount of work that he just put out there. That's how creative this guy is and how creative New York is. New York really is a circuit board. I've seen people talking about the fact that some of these old buildings were built in a way that they were harnessing energy, and I believe that, especially with the copper stuff that they're starting to realize you can do, right? People are saying, well, wait a minute. If you're saying I could build a small thing and put just a stick in the ground and curl some copper wire, bend some copper wire around that stick and have the copper wire inserting into the earth, and that's going to help me, and that's going to possibly help my crops grow. Well, what if I just make that larger? Right? What if I make, I don't know, what if I take a 2x6 and I make a massive pole, embed it in the ground, 6 feet or whatever, 4 feet, wrap the copper wire around that, a bigger piece of copper wire, and place those on every corner of my land, what would happen? Well, shit. You're going to probably double or triple your crop yields. And you're not going to have probably any pesticides whatsoever. You won't have any. The ground will be buzzing in such a way that no bugs will even want to go near your stuff and eat it. It's going to be vibrating that high. They're just going to want to go somewhere else. And that's a good thing. So I think that's what people are starting to realize, because on Instagram I was seeing all these different photos that people are sharing of people building those things now. And it's free, right? Why wouldn't you? I mean, all you need is a big piece of copper wire, which copper wire can be expensive if you need a lot of it. And people are starting to realize, hey, if I got these new paints now that have, I think, what does the new paints have in it? It's EMF like proof paint, right? It's called. If you're worried about EMF and stuff coming in your house, get EMF proof paint. They have it now. Can block a lot of these signals from coming in if you're worried about it. That's another big step. Of course, the best thing would be if we just did Tesla towers. One in Florida, one in New York, one in, like, I don't know, Missouri or Nebraska, and then in Texas, and then one in, like, Los Angeles, and then one up in Washington State. We'd be set. You could throw some crops anywhere in the ground around the whole country would be fertile. You could grow anywhere instead of now where a lot of the land is not. So we got to realize that the resonance, we got to work with the energy of the earth, with the different resonance levels. We're realizing that that's the way to heal, right? That's why they changed the music from 432 megahertz to 440 megahertz, so it sounds bad. You don't want it gets you agitated. Listen to a Metallica album or two, or listen to some really hardcore metal, right? And I was a metal fan growing as a kid, so don't tell me that I hate metal, because I don't. I used to listen to metal. I've seen Ozzy in concert, you know. I'm just saying that I didn't know at the time that this is on a 440 megahertz level. I didn't learn that till I was in my 20s. I didn't have a computer till I was 25 years old. So, like, what happened with me was, I was like, whoa, this is like everything I've ever wanted, because all the questions that I've had for all my life, I can find the answers now. All I got to do is take the time to look it up. So I took the next 20 years doing that. And then all of a sudden I was like 40 something years old, and I'm like, whoa, what do? I got all this information in my head. I don't know what to do with it. I found out a lot of the answers to the questions I had about the mysteries of the world. But what do I do with that information besides help myself with it? And that's what everyone else is doing. They're learning, right? People are just waking up, having their Kundalini awakening like yesterday. And some of us have had it for 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Patel's FBI traced the suspect's credit card data to break the pipe bomb case. So it's just took his credit card. No problem. We broke the case in a day. These guys who was sitting there for 4 years on someone's desk, don't touch it. Excuse me. I wrote, this whole thing stinks. Trump pardons the Democrat who accused him of inciting insurrection, voted for impeachment. Excuse me, guys. I'm not sure what happened with Quellar, but it appears to me that Trump may have pardoned this guy thinking he was going to either turn to the dark side or to the Republican side, or I don't know. But he didn't do what he thought he was going to do, and now he's running again. Which has people in Trump's base saying, what the hell are you doing? Why would you pardon this guy? Why would you pardon someone like Adams when he was about to get indicted? D.C. pipe bomb suspect ran a bail bonds company to free illegal aliens. Sued the Trump DHS, hired a BLM lawyer, Cole ran a bail bonds company along with his father, Brian Cole Sr. It worked to free illegal aliens from ICE facilities. Here's what we know about Brian Cole, the suspect charged with planting the pipe bombs. 30-year-old. So Seem to know a lot about this guy, but why couldn't you catch him for 4 years? What happened? So the federal grand jury they didn't indict Alicia James. They let her off, and they let the other guy off too, right? Biden administration sat on the evidence in the D.C. pipe bomb probe, the FBI chief claims. Harvard law professor who fired the pellet gun near the synagogue said he was hunting rats. Agrees to leave the United States. Remember this guy? What the hell are you doing, dude? Why are you firing a gun into a synagogue for? Then it turns out, where is this guy from again? I thought you're from a Muslim country, right? If I remember correctly. Let me find out where this guy's from. Because he's not just from, like, Europe. Oh, he's from Brazil. Right. Wow. Okay, I knew he wasn't from Europe. So you're a law professor at Harvard. You're a Brazilian. And you just decide, hey, I'm going to just fire like a... And it's because ICE busted him. Is this guy even here legally? I mean, you're working at Harvard. What are you doing here? Why aren't you in Brazil? New Jersey-bound plane that suddenly plunged thousands of feet, likely hit by cosmic rays. I think this is why a lot of the planes are crashing. Is all this rays, this human resonance is going freaking crazy, dude. I couldn't barely sleep last night. My freaking head felt like it was going to freaking explode. There's a lot of energies flowing in here. And it's changing our DNA profile. And I think what's going to happen is that our DNA profile was messed around with, as far as I can tell. And that's just the way I think about it. You might not think that way. You might think that we were set up this way. I don't think so. Because if you look back at parts of the Older Testament Bible, and you believe that any of that could be possibly true, which I think parts of it are, well, people were living like 700, 800, 900, 800 years. How's that possible? Or is that just all made up? Why is it that 2,000 or more years ago people could live that long and now they can't? Some people say, well, the Earth's vibration fell from that point, right? Once Jesus was, if you believe Jesus was, killed on the cross, right? Then that whole storyline, then, some people feel like the Earth's vibration dropped to a point at some point because of that or other things like the reptilian wars or whatever happened when Atlantis was. If you believe that Atlantis existed, when Atlantis it imploded or destroyed itself. But a plane just crashed on a highway too, I think in Florida, and landed like a small plane landed on top of a car. Like, didn't kill the guy, but he got hurt. New York City rental market's in crisis as tenants are priced out and rent-stabilized landlords rush to sell cheap. So what's happening is a lot of rent-stabilized building landlords, they're trying to get out of those buildings because they can't. They're worried about what Mamdani might do, and they want to get out now while they can still get, and some of these buildings are like $1 million, 1.2, 1.5, 1.8, 2.2, 3 million, those ranges, right? There's 6-unit buildings, 10-unit, 12-unit buildings, small. 4 or 5-story buildings, right? Some people call them like tenement types. They're not tenements per se, but they're older buildings sometimes, where there's 2 apartments per floor. You know the story. You could buy these for anywhere in the $1 million range to $2 million range, but they're not super profitable, because a lot of the rents in the buildings, a lot of the people stay in those apartments a very long time, usually till they die. And there's some stories. I remember when I first got into real estate, my boss had a small building like that where there was a woman who had been living in there for a very long time, and she was old, in her 80s at that point, and her rent was, I think, like $48 a month, I think it was. He showed me the check and he was just laughing. I said, you gotta love it, man. She deserves that apartment. She's been there since like 1940, whatever, right? What are you gonna do, bro? You gotta wait till she dies. He's like, he was always hoping she'd die. I said, she's not gonna die. She's gonna live a long time. She's got the garden apartment, baby. That's a beautiful unit for $50 a month. garden apartment's usually the ground floor, right? And then you have a backyard sometimes in those village buildings. It's beautiful. That's a rarity. Upper East Side has those type of. Sometimes you'll have that too. Just to call it the garden apartment. Those are rare. 19-year-old arrested for role in shocking mob beating of couple at fiery New York City car meetup. So they did catch somebody that was beating that couple up when those cars showed up in the neighborhood and just started doing donuts. I don't see what the point of doing that is. What are you trying to do? A drag race? I can understand like people wanting a drag race, I guess, but this isn't even that. It's just like a group of people that show up with their cars and start doing like donuts and burnouts like in the middle of a street. What's the point of doing that? Go find an empty parking lot somewhere and do that shit. Well, no, you're not bothering anybody, and the smell of all the burning like rubber isn't bothering anybody. Because that's the other part of it that's nasty. I don't want to smell burning rubber in my house in the middle of the night because you want to show up and have a party. People are lucky nobody started opening up like round and shot at them or something. Most people in New York City don't own a gun. Most homeowners, you're not allowed to, so you don't have protection when people like that show up outside your house and start threatening you or beating you and your wife up. You don't have much you can do about it. You can call the cops and hope they show up, and guess what? They showed up 30 minutes later, right? Remember Public Enemy? I called 911 long time ago. They ain't coming. They ain't coming, man. They're coming later. By the time they come, your ass beat up or half dead in the street. Wall Street moves to stop Trump from picking Kevin Hassett as next Fed chief. Here's why. Well, I thought the Fed was supposed to be dissolved by now. See, this is why you know something's wrong. Well, these guys aren't dissolving the Fed. They're not doing anything of the sort. He's changing the Fed up. He folded the Fed into the Treasury. Where's the gold in Fort Knox? You ever find it? No. Why not? Where is it? U.S. carries out 22nd strike on alleged drug vessel operated by a designated terrorist organization. So I wrote, you know what this means? That for years the U.S. has known about these boats, has surveilled them, and just let them through. For years. Is that what you're telling us has been going on? You've just been sitting back and you've known the boats are there. You've got sonar. You've got advanced radar. You've got planes flying all over the fucking place in the Caribbean already. You're telling me you don't know about these boats? You never saw them before? I find that hard to believe. Zoran Mamdani to stop all homeless encampment sweeps as New York City mayor ending key Adams initiative. So this won't be an issue until maybe the spring. Because trust me, it's 31 degrees out right now with a wind of about 12 to 15 mile an hour gusts. Which means it feels like about 9. So yeah, good luck putting a tent up on that cold ass concrete. You're not going to be making it, right? It's just not going to happen for you. It's too cold. And unless you got a warm weather tent with like a, with one of those wood burning stoves in it, which most of these guys don't, right? But what's going to happen in the spring and summer if those encampments start to pop up and then he doesn't clear them and they get worse, that's going to become a big problem real quick, and people will not. People in New York are a bit different when it comes to shit like that. They will fucking do something about it. You will see people coming out and doing something. And what I'm noticing is in Europe, in places like Germany especially, they're starting to crack down on the Muslims hard. They're not having the shit anymore. And they got these big-ass cops there. In Germany, man, when they put guys that hire guys, they hire big dudes like 6'2", 200-pounders. These guys take you by the throat and just put their whole hand over your fucking face and just drag your ass into the vans when you start to mess with them. And some of these Muslim guys, they get very angry, man. They get like right up in the cop's face screaming, and they don't take that anymore. They're just grabbing you. I wrote, Mamdani's going to destroy New York, or at least do a lot of damage, is my guess, and people are going to start getting more and more angry. That's what I see happening with that. Putin tells Ukraine to withdraw from the Donbass or face being forced out. This thing is just going on and on. It's just insane. I also wrote, a city can condemn a building that has become unsafe. Right? We were talking about buildings that, like the IRS, if you don't pay your taxes on your land or your building, yeah, they'll come take your building away. Just like Steve Croman, the guy I used to work for when I first worked in real estate, when he was only had a few buildings. Well, he grew up to have over 100 buildings, this guy. He leveraged the system. But he got to a point where he had too much product almost. He had too many loans, right? He owed so much money that, any downturn could hurt him. And he obviously was doing something illegal. I don't know what exactly yet. But boy, this guy's in... It's going to be an epic... I mean, this guy had so many buildings. You can't... And I just think, why don't you just sell a third of your portfolio and cover the damage? But I think he's done some more criminal stuff here. He's in trouble. So, usually the city can condemn a building, right? Like if there's a bunch of warnings on a building after a while and you don't do anything to fix it, and there's so many of them pile up, they can condemn the building, which is what they did with a lot of the buildings to build the World Trade Centers back down in Tribeca in the early days. When they were first trying to put that up, they had to take a lot of lots out. And what they did was they condemned a lot of different buildings that were mostly like warehouse spaces and things near the piers by the water, right? Because there used to be a lot of boats used to come in and they would bring in all kinds of products. There was a lot of cheese and milk products that would come through these areas, fruit. And of course, after they started to bring stuff in different areas, and those areas weren't used anymore, they fell into those areas. The neighborhoods fell into disrepair. Nobody was really living in them for a while. Especially Soho, Tribeca, lower Battery Park area. Mexican national arrested for driving a semi-truck without a commercial driver's license. Slammed into a school bus in Washington and triggered a 6-vehicle pileup, troopers said. There were 2 adults on the school bus at the time of the crash. No students on board. That was lucky. This guy could have killed some people, right? Here's another person driving a truck who doesn't even have the proper license. Unbelievable. I showed you the Joe Rogan photo with Anton LaVey's grandson, the grandson of the founder of the Church of Satan. You can check that out if you want. If you like Joe Rogan. I mean, that's just who he was hanging out with. He used to hang out with, Marilyn Manson quite a bit too, right? They're friends. He's given the satanic hand sign. He's got a 666 T-shirt on. I don't know. What do you think? I'm just showing you what's out there, right? Knows this guy. He's friends with him. The co-founder of Smartmatic voting machine company was charged with paying bribes for Philippine contracts. Here's an article I reposted from August the 9th, 2024. So Smartmatic was also brought up on other charges, right? We know Dominion voting machines had a backdoor. We know Seidel Systems had a backdoor in it that would allow for voter manipulation. It's why Swiss Post would not buy Seidel. Trump approves tiny car manufacturing in America. I have just approved tiny cars to be built. Why can't you just build a car that's a decent car and it's cheap? Why can't you build a car that's like $10,000 or less? That's a good car, solid car. Why can't you do that? And put that new transmission in where it gets 100 miles a gallon. You would have everybody have to adopt that once you did that then to keep up with you. A Somali national is charged with kidnap and rape of 4 women, including a 15-year-old girl in Minnesota. If Minnesota will not protect its own people, the Department of Justice will do it for them. Post-millennial. Elise Stefanik supports surges in New York GOP as potential primary opponent launch false flag. Yeah, she's the one. And I think she'd do a good job as the governor. I don't think she's compromised. She may be. You damn sure Hochul is, that's for sure. I think she's the next governor, as I wrote, is Stefanik. A.G. Bondi whips Minnesota for allowing Somali migrant convicted serial rapist to walk free before he committed another horrifying rape. I mean, how do you do that for someone to rape somebody? Opinion piece, New York Post. George Soros wrecked American criminal justice, one leftist DA at a time. Yep, that was the plan, right? And yes, they saw him doing it, but there just didn't seem to be any way to stop Soros, right? Trump in his first term never touched Soros. He never barely mentioned him. Never talked about him much. Never went after him. Never went after the Bidens. When there was all those suspicious activity reports from Hunter and Jim Biden and inside the Treasury Department, they never went after him for that. They never went after Jim Biden for several deals that appeared to be, that he was involved in, that appeared to be, possibly shady. NYPD boss Jessica Tisch apologizes to Mamdani after her brother calls him an enemy of the Jewish people. Well, you sure don't appear to be a friend of them. So from your past statements and people you've been around's past statements. Interstellar objects like 3i Atlas sent by advanced civilization to seed life on Earth. Some people are now saying that actually 3i Atlas was sent by us in the future to make sure that we ascend and this doesn't go wrong off the rails, which maybe, who knows, right? I mean, if we're already talking about time traveling now, imagine what they could do, I don't know, 1,000 years from now, 500 years from now, what the world's going to be like in, I don't know, 25, 26. I wonder if these recordings will last 500 years or they'll just be erased like basically my other site was completely erased. There's no YouTube anymore. It's completely gone. And the Cloudflare thing has been resolved a long time ago, and YouTube never came back, which means that that entire archive is now gone. And I don't have the full archive on here either on Rumble. You'd have to watch the YouTube videos from the beginning and then start with the Rumble from the beginning, which is page 38 of the videos, because there's 946 videos on Rumble. I did a bunch of videos before I ever got onto Rumble about subjects like maritime admiralty law and the human stock exchange and the way that you have been made into an asset of the corporation, how to look up your bonds that are issued on your social security number and your birth certificate, which was on the Fidelity side. I showed you how to do that. I even reposted that video on my x.com if people want to go, and it shows you how to look up your bonds, what to put in to search terms. You have to search from 1980 going forward. There's no record of it before 1980 for some reason. Those are some of the earliest videos I did on YouTube before I got the first strike, then the second, and then finally kicked off completely. But all the videos, most of them that were restricted, I challenged them and some of them came back. Mamdani's decision to end Adams admin's homeless encampment sweeps will cause quality of life nightmare. Yeah, you don't want in the middle of the summer some homeless guy right under your window taking a dump and shooting up heroin all day and fentanyl and making a mess in the sidewalk. It's not really allowed in New York. People don't allow that to happen. It's sort of happened in some neighborhoods like a little bit, but it never to the extent that it happened in these other cities, because people in New York sort of don't, I don't know, there's like a little bit more of an attitude here that people have, like they're not going to take your shit literally or figuratively. And you could see how, like, even when a food truck shows up outside certain buildings, people start to get agitated just by that. So imagine if some guy's taking a shit and a piss outside where you live, right outside your window. You don't think you're going to be out there, like, trying to get rid of that guy? I am. I don't have a problem with getting into a fight with somebody over it either, because, like, but a lot of people won't do that, right? They're scared. And I get it. They don't want to get into a fight with a needle drug addict who's probably got some kind of communicable disease, possibly, right? My point is it's not going to be allowed to happen here. It's not nearly as much. The cops will come in, sanitation will be called, people will complain, and then these services will come in and do something about it if you get enough complaints about it. If 50 people call and say, hey, this guy's taking a dump on 8th Street, someone's going to show up to deal with that, right? Cloudflare service says it's restored after the outage that brought down Zoom and LinkedIn, but my YouTube never came back. What the hell happened to YouTube? I can't find any information out. Excuse me. Climate change study that overestimated economic impact is pulled, but not before banks relied on it. So banks were issuing loans and stuff saying, well, wait a minute, or maybe using it to turn people down. I can't give you a loan to buy that house in the beach over there in Florida right now, because according to our statistics, in 25 years, that could be underwater. Right? Which would mean that why would people wouldn't buy something in, say, Battery Park then in New York? Because according to, if what you're saying is correct, then Battery Park should be underwater by now, and it's not, right? I mean, I lived in New York City my whole life. I never saw part of it go underwater on the east or the Hudson River side or the East River side, which means that the sea level is not rising. If it was, the East River would have already been taking over parts of Lower East Side, which is the lowest lying land in the city, which is where they put all the projects, right? That's because it was the lowest lying land. It was the cheapest land, the land that nobody wanted. Why? Because it floods. It's low-lying. It floods during the storms sometimes when there's surges, right? Once in a while. Or there's a lot of rain comes down. And it overwhelms the sewage system, yeah. Islamic nonprofit condemns Trump for calling out Somali fraud in Minnesota. These aren't people who work, Trump said. These aren't people who say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. Well, that's true. Some of them aren't. Some of them do work, but some of them are also doing fraud, right? Some of them are not working. Some of them are taking advantage of the system. And I don't know how many people I've seen in the street here from some Central American or South American countries selling crap in the street. How many people can we have doing that? That's not the way you're going to make it here. You're not going to go from rags to riches selling scarves and hats in the street. Selling fake watches and fake purses in the street. Right? Clogging up the whole sidewalk with your crap so people can't even walk. Trump warns European nations are under threat of civilizational erasure and will be unrecognizable within the next 20 years. Yeah, it's almost too late already. Great Britain has to do something like now. Germany has to act now. Sweden has to act now. Within the next year or two, or 3, or not any longer. It's already been too long. The U.S. has to act now. Judge orders the unsealing of grand jury transcripts in Jeffrey Epstein case last month. President Trump signed legislation requiring the disclosure of materials related to the late billionaire's sex trafficking operations. So it's funny, the Daily Mail came out with some big article. Oh, we found this picture of Trump at a Halloween party with Ghislaine Maxwell. And it's so funny because I posted those photos 2 years ago, almost now, or at least a year plus ago. In one of my digs that I found, I was showing you all these different photos where I was showing you when Trump was going to a lot of parties with Ghislaine Maxwell. That started in the early 90s and continued all the way to 2000. You could see the photos of them all together. Not just at Mar-a-Lago where he was inviting Epstein, that came later, but before that he was, a lot of that time he was also hanging just with Ghislaine. You notice that Epstein didn't go to a lot of those other parties when she's hobnobbing with the bigwigs. He didn't go to those. Trump was going with her. You could see more than 2 or 3 different parties at least, right? The Halloween party, which was Heidi Klum's 2000 or 1999 Halloween. I think it was 2000 Halloween party. But they're acting like we found this photo. What do you mean? I showed you that a couple of years ago. You weren't paying attention. You're not breaking anything new. Afghan watchdog concludes billions in weapons U.S. left behind form the core of the Taliban's military now. The U.S. invaded Afghanistan on October the 7th, 2001, in response to the 9/11 attacks a month earlier. The U.S. presence in Afghanistan then continued under 4 presidents. I wrote, no shit, Sherlock. Here we go again. Media claims J-6 pipe bomber was MAGA. Bolivia says it has 6 tons of gold as collateral in foreign banks. You better make sure that that's all there, because some of that could be tungsten, right? There was rumors that some of the gold was stolen from these countries, and especially gold that was stored in the United States. 6 tons of gold's pretty good. If that's true, Bolivia's future is looking pretty bright. Because gold's at, what, 4,200 an ounce right now? Their future's looking real bright. If that's all real gold, and it's still there. Gold's up $1.10, 63.08 an ounce. New all-time high. Gold pushing up 42.57, 60 an ounce, up 11.90. I was seeing palladium moving, then they got knocked back also with platinum, but platinum's up over 1,700 an ounce, 17.05, up 29.30, and palladium's at 15.14.10, up 5.60. Silver is just having a historic run, and I hope all you stacked it as high as you could. If you can't, then just keep trying to. It's going to go way higher. So just keep stacking. Get small coins. Get whatever you can. Get junk silver. Get whatever you can, right? If you can't get a 10-ounce bar, get a 1-ounce bar. Get coins. Get 1-ounce silver dollars, right? Or get 1888s, you know, those silver dollars. So get the Morgan silver dollars. Get whatever you can. When I was a kid, my grandmother used to go to Atlantic City, and she would always hit the slots, and she'd come back with just bags full of those silver dollars, man. I should have kept those. I used to have a big bunch of them when I was a kid. Of course, I got rid of them all now. If I had that big stack now, boy, phew, it'd be worth a lot of money. Because those silver dollars, the Morgans are the ones have the most silver in them. Opinion piece, New York Post. Mamdani's lunatic plan to end homeless camp sweeps will destroy the city. It's not going to be pretty. And especially if people like shooting drugs up all over the place too, that's not going to be allowed. There's people will come out with sticks and bats. Poverty in Argentina falls to 36.3%, the lowest level since 2018. I'm thinking that's a third of your populace is living in poverty, and that's supposedly good. That's considered a good thing. That means that since 2018 it's been higher. It means that almost close to half your population at one point may have been in poverty, which is pretty bad, right? And this is a rich country. This is a country that has a lot of things in the ground that you shouldn't be poor. Germany returns voluntary military service to bolster armed forces. Voluntary, dude. Voluntary. Not mandatory, though, right? That's different. Means you can join. They want people to join. New Jersey plane fiasco shows how cosmic rays from another galaxy can impact air travel, planetary defense experts said. I wrote, is this why so many planes keep crashing? Are they doing it on purpose, or is it something's happening with the energies that are hitting the Earth, and the Earth is spinning faster than time? It can keep up, apparently, now. That's why you feel like everything's going so quick. Like, look, it's like 2025 is over. And it just seems like, weren't we just talking about, oh, it's just starting, this and that. F-ICE, F-LAPD, LA's radical protesters behind synagogue firestorm. So you can see most of these people are just being paid to do it, right? And these are small groups behind the stuff with the synagogues. This is agitation propaganda we spoke about many different times. Zoran Mamdani sparks outrage by tapping radical who praised notorious cop killer Assata Shakur for education transition team. I don't understand why he's putting these people in that he's putting in. This doesn't make any sense. Russia unleashes massive drone and missile attack on Ukraine as diplomatic talks continue. New York Post. Mamdani's plan to let 10 cities take over the city could batter real estate market. Sure. How are you going to rent that unit out if there's some guy sitting right next to the building or up the block who lives there and he smells? And he takes a dump and a piss right outside where you live every day. Who's going to clean that up? You? If you live in New York long enough, you are used to the smell of piss and shit. Unfortunately. It's everywhere. Now most of the smells I'm smelling is marijuana smoke and cigarettes. And piss. Of course, you can go and smell some really good smells from restaurants and bakeries and things, but You know, when you got food cart every other block polluting the shit out of your air, there's so many bad smells in the air now of that kind of thing too. And plus the pollution, that Midtown and places like that are really not fun places to be. They're very, very polluted. The air is of very bad quality. It always has been. And there's this, by letting all these food trucks and carts operate that are running these gas-powered generators all day that are polluting the atmosphere, it really is making a difference. It's polluting the city so much more. Mamdani's plan to destroy the city with, I don't know, why would you, if you want to be a good mayor, why would you allow people to just camp out, like in Washington Square Park or Central Park? 2 arrested after dozens of guns, including cop killer model found in spare tire at southern border. That's every day there's stuff being smuggled in and out. I think personally we should shut the border with Mexico completely. You want to work in Mexico? Go live in Mexico. You want to stay here and work here. Shouldn't need to go over the border to work. If you can't find a job here, then go live in Mexico where your job is. You got family in Mexico? You want to go visit? Go live in Mexico with that family then. We don't need you here. If you snuck in here illegally, you should leave. Period. Park Avenue Armory bigwigs welcome raunchy art show displaying 12-foot penises by Marina Abramovich. Still free, right? Right. The Spirit Cooker's still free, right? Nobody's touched her. Did Trump ever touch her? Did he go near her? No. Did he mention her name even? I don't think so. I wrote Abramovich still free. She's making art installations, getting old, living free, living high up in the world, right? While the rest of us suffer. Trump administration will expand travel ban to over 30 countries. DHS Chief Kristi Noem says, yeah. How about India, Pakistan, China? You'll never shut the people coming in from those countries. Government opens fire on Tim Pool's property overnight. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. So he's claiming that, like Candace Owens was, making all these allegations up, and that she stirred up some shit that got him in trouble, that got people to shoot at his property. I never liked Tim Pool. I don't know why people watch him. He's a disinformation agent. I don't know why he won't take that hat off of his head. I don't even know if he's human. I'm sick of hearing his voice. I don't think he's a particularly good pundit. He doesn't have a grasp of the socio-political world that we live in. He doesn't seem to know anything about a lot of different subjects that he talks about a lot. It's just funny that a lot of these people get big airplay and big airtime and they have no idea what they're talking about. Or they're completely lying to you like a Wayne Willott is, and they're just making money. He's saying, oh, I have to make the prices of my silver coins I'm selling to you higher because the price of silver went up. I have to make more money now. Sorry, guys. As I sell you my Mogador jacket. Yeah, where's my fucking med bed? Wayne Willott. ICE arrests Somali migrant convicted of welfare fraud in Canada during Minnesota Operation Metro Surge. An immigration judge denied an asylum request from Abdul Dahir Ibrahim in 2004 because of a significant amount of fraud on his record. Some of these Somalis who were doing this scam and stealing money meant for starving kids were living in $1 million plus homes in some instances, I wrote. Right? Some of the people where they find these people, they're living in multi-million-dollar or $1 million plus houses by stealing the taxpayers' dollar. So who are these people? This is like a crime network. It's not just a bunch of Somalis. It's something else. This is organized crime. They have their own organized crime groups, right? You can see that way because they take over ships, right? That's what the Somalis do, some of them, right? They go out in small boats and they try to take over large ships that are passing through the area in the ocean. They're pirates. And I wrote, why is this guy cuffed in front? This guy that they caught. He should be cuffed with his hands in the back. That's how most people are cuffed. They're giving him doing him a favor, cuffing his hands in the front. That's way less painful than having him cuffed in the back. And I won't tell you how I know that. NYU students whine Washington Square Park's charm is left with the homeless junkies, despite vagrant attacking classmate. No, the park hasn't lost its flavor. Its flavor was never the fact that there were junkies hanging out all over the place shooting up fentanyl and heroin. The draw of the park was that it brought all kinds of different people together. Not drug addicts together. People together that were hanging out, playing music, playing folk music, playing different music from different eras. Skateboarding, singing music, being together, hanging out, maybe smoking some reefer. It wasn't about people smoking heroin and people shooting up fentanyl all over the park in front of children and then just nodding out all over the benches. That wasn't what the charm of the fucking park was. If you thought that's what the charm of the park was, you were never from this place anyway. You never were from New York originally. You're just some tourist that's here on mommy and daddy's dime. So why don't you just shut the fuck up, go back to your class, and pretend that you're learning something, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about as far as Washington Square Park and what it was really all about. It's a center for people to meet. It's not a place for drug addicts and drugs to be sold, although it was turned into that for many years, unfortunately. I was checking out Ari at Home's Nike Toma stream in Miami. It was pretty cool. He got down to some warm weather, thank God. I wouldn't mind being in Miami right now. Coast Guard makes largest coke bust since 2007, triple the size of the recent Colombian bust. 20,000 pounds of coke seized through counter-narcotics operations across the eastern Pacific. Oh, it's all of a sudden you can bust all the coke, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. All of a sudden, you know where it's all coming. What about all the tunnels that it's coming through from Mexico into the U.S.? Did you get all those yet? I don't think so. Ilhan Omar has ominous words for those who are collaborating with the authoritarian regime. So there's this whole thing that Trump's doing the right thing. I still hear Wayne Willott talking about Trump's in the mountain. And he made a mistake because he said there was all these press there, and Trump said, I'm in the process of closing up the mountain. Well, what did you do? Trap all those press in there with you? You couldn't do that. You had to let them leave. What did you make them have signed some kind of an NDA that they weren't going to report what you said? See, you made a mistake there. You slipped up in the lie you told. He said all these press were there, and Trump said, I'm going to seal up the mountain now. Cheyenne has everything it needs. Well, what did you do? Did you let those press out and tell them they can't talk about it? How'd you do that? There's no way they would have agreed to that, right? So either you locked up a bunch of press for 5 years inside the mountain with you and kept them hostage, or you're not in the mountain, and you never were. That was a lie, which is what I told you before. It was a lie, right? He's not in the mountain. He never was. He may have visited the mountain, but he's not been in there for the last 5 years. And if he's coming and going out of the mountain, what's the point of sealing the mountain then? He's bringing germs back into the mountain. That's the other thing that doesn't make sense. If you sealed the mountain because you thought that COVID was here and that there was some kind of a virus that was spreading throughout the country, then why would you let Trump go back and forth outside the mountain and come back in? That doesn't make sense. And possibly, and everybody on his team possibly would be bringing that virus into the mountain, right? So there's another part of the lie that doesn't make any sense. So if you have a logical mindset and you can look at what these people are telling you, like the Juan O'Savins, the Wayne Willotts, you can tell that they're lying. They're liars because what they're saying doesn't add up. And the fact that Trump never mentioned this guy's name not one time, he was never seen with Trump, but yet he's always claiming that he has inside information about what's going to happen about this. And why are these people so concerned with Tina Peters getting out of jail? Did Tina Peters actually do the right thing, or is she working with these people to somehow, along with Flynn? I just can't figure that angle out with the Tina Peters stuff yet. Mike Gill has an angle on it, and he thinks that she's about to turn on them and do some kind of deal because she's sick in there and they won't let her out, and that's why that Juan O'Savin and all those people are so desperate for her to get out of there. But it doesn't appear that Trump is pardoning her, and one of my listeners says Trump can't pardon her. So if Trump can't pardon her, she's not going to get pardoned. These people are saying that Trump could pardon her and get her released if he wanted, using his presidential power. I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming he could. He could pardon anybody. He just pardoned a coke dealer from another country. Why can't he pardon Tina Peters then? I don't know. We'll see. Keep an eye on Tina Peters and what happens with that. She's apparently very sick in jail. Been put in solitary allegedly because she was threatened. AR-15 allegedly found under the Florida college student's bed after he ordered 1,500 rounds of ammo to the dorm. I wasn't too smart, boss. What are you getting ready to do, man? Go on some kind of crazy hunting trip, or that's a lot of rounds of ammo, boss. What do you need that for? That's going to trigger some kind of alarms in the system, right? They went looking for you real quick. Janine Pirro targets blue state governor, says illegal aliens don't have a right to be in this country. They don't. That's what I don't understand, why these governors and different local politicians in New York who are not assisting ICE and not helping ICE and working against ICE, they're breaking the law. They can be, I'm assuming maybe some of them will be removed. Like Christopher Marty, whose district it is, who's the first district. He's the Democrat that's in control of that district where Canal Street is, where all the illegal aliens are selling those fake watches and fake purses. He's done nothing in his whole last term to clear that up at all. He's done nothing to clear the food trucks off the streets in different parts of downtown either, where they shouldn't be. He hasn't done his job. Yet he gets reelected, so we're stuck in this system where people like Alvin Bragg, who let numerous criminals back out onto the streets to hurt other human beings and I think kill somebody in one instance, is reelected with 70% of the vote. Is New York too far gone to be saved? Maybe. They need a lot of people to wake up rather quickly. Inside the fentanyl zombie zone public park thriving under LA's DSA regime where people die daily. Yeah, I mean, look at Andy Dick, just almost OD'd on the street the other day. The comedian Andy Dick, who's, had issues with drugs for many years, unfortunately. He was found passed out on the street just in the middle of like LA somewhere, like on a stoop. With his glasses on the street. He was half dead. If somebody didn't realize what he was on and grabbed that Narcan real quick, he was a dead man walking. Because by the time the ambulance showed up, he would have been dead. He was already starting to turn blue. That fentanyl will kill you quick. They killed my dad with that stuff, I know. Right? They hit you with the fentanyl in the hospital, and all of a sudden you can't breathe so well, right? Shit, we got to put you on a ventilator, sir. Oh shit, that's the end of you. Be very careful when you put your elders in the hospital. Be very careful. You better be on top of that shit. Understand me? Better be on top of those nurses and that doctor and know what's going on every second, because if you don't, it don't take long. 7.0 magnitude earthquake strikes in remote area near the Alaska-Canada border. So a lot of earthquakes. There was another one, 7.6, and off the coast of Japan. But what's interesting is there's almost never a tsunami wave. They keep saying there's a tsunami. You'd think there would be. 7.6. But there wasn't. They build those buildings in Japan pretty well, too, because they can withstand those earthquakes, boy. I mean, you saw what happened like in parts of Turkey where those older buildings and you had like a pretty big earthquake. Those buildings all fall apart like real quick, right? Because they're built in a very old style where with stone work and masonry work where it's can't take the vibration, right? Stone doesn't do well with vibration. It tends to crack if it's too much, right, on a structure. National Guard shooting suspects close military ties with accused Afghan suicide bomber arrested in Texas revealed. So we got the guy in Texas, and he's related to the other suicide bomber guy. They know each other somehow, or who knows? They knew of each other. Illegal alien charged in another Charlotte train stabbing after Ukrainian refugees killing. Oscar Solorzano is in the U.S. illegally. Huh? What a surprise. And has been previously deported, with court records confirming President Trump's social media claim. Here's another illegal alien that's now stabbed somebody. Texas AG sues Muslim Epic City developers for fraud. The leaders behind Epic City have engaged in a radical plot to destroy hundreds of acres of beautiful Texas land and line their own pockets. It looks like they already built the whole thing out. They got the mosque built already. Right? It looked like, from what I saw. They were 3/4 of the way there. Here's my human stock exchange show from 5 years ago. The audio is a little bad. I apologize. It's like a little echoey because I wasn't using as good of a mic as I have now. I was using my computer, my laptop's mic, so I apologize. But if you can get through it or look up the original TED Talk where the woman was talking about it, they have a comic book around about it also where you wear like a special watch. People selling themselves, right? You saw some of these people selling some of these musicians sold their whole catalog, right? Which is like they're selling themselves in a sense to something else, right? Some actors are selling their likeness. Okay, after I die, you can make a 3D image of me and put it in a movie if you want, or some shit, right? I was looking up owning land in allodium, which is a different way of owning land than how most people now don't own land in allodium, which means that the land is freely held without obligation of service to any overlord. Allodial land tenure was of particular significance in Western Europe during the Middle Ages when most land was held by what? Feudal tenure. What does that mean? Well, like there's a lord, right, of the area. He owns all the land. He's the king of this area, or the duke, or the earl, right? If you were in, like, say, the old England, that was how it was set up. And he may have owned thousands of acres of land in an area, right, where you happen to live, and that means you have to pay fealty to that king, right? A portion of your crops and that whatever you grow, if you make wine on your land, if you have whatever foods you produce, you have to give a percentage of that to the king. Sometimes a high percentage. And in turn, you're allowed to live on that land and farm that land, build a house on that land, but you don't own that land. Most times you didn't. Most people don't own land in allodium. Some states do not recognize this legal term and some do. That's the other part of owning land in allodium. ALLODIUM. You can look up that term and try to learn more about it. See if you can purchase a piece of land and own it in allodium. That would be pretty insane if you could do it. I don't think you can do it in the United States. You might be able to, though. You'd have to do more research. That's the best way to own land because it doesn't allow the government or any other outside force to come in then and say, you have to pay property tax on this land year in and year out. You have to pay state tax or some other tax on this land that you shouldn't have to pay. Federal judge blocks DOJ from using evidence from new Comey charges. So they can't. They're blocking the DOJ. A judge blocked the DOJ from using any evidence for new charges against Comey, so they're trying to insulate Comey. Army creates Western Hemisphere Command to strengthen homeland defense and regional readiness. There was no Western Hemisphere Command before. That's weird. Don't you have the world already set up in pieces while you're defending it all? Apparently not. Mamdani tells illegal aliens how to avoid ICE detainment as New York City operations continue. In the video posted to X, Mamdani said he intends to protect the rights of every single New Yorker. Yeah, but you're not doing that because you're letting illegal aliens who are not New Yorkers, who are not citizens of New York, into the state and treating them as if they are citizens of New York. If you were protecting every New Yorker, you would be removing every illegal alien from New York. You would be going to Canal Street with buses and trucks and loading up all the Africans and the Senegalese men that are down there and seizing all of their documents, seizing all of their properties, taking them, putting them on a plane, and hey, you want to take your stuff? Take it with you back to Africa and send them back. That's what we should be doing. That whole problem can be cleared up with less than a week, but yet it's been left to fester for years. Secret weather program allegedly exposes Americans to toxic chemicals and deadly UV rays. I mean, we're still talking about this like as if it's possibly true. The Daily Mail is so corrupt, they're not even at the point yet that they're saying that it's actually happening. They're just saying, well, it's an alleged thing that's going on. Really? I've been talking about this since at least 2014 on my own social medias, and then later, when I was, and for the last 5 years plus, that we're being chemtrailed, we're being poisoned, we're being massively chemtrailed here in New York. I mean, huge amounts. The last few weeks especially. DC's first black female police chief quits following attacks on city's autonomy after Trump ordered the National Guard. So you quit because you're ineffective and you don't know what you're doing. You've allowed DC to turn into a cesspool. I mean, you could literally walk blocks from the White House and score crack. Just ask Hunter Biden. Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani to ditch rent-stabilized Queens apartment and move into Gracie Mansion. Well, you have to. It's not a good look that you're keeping a rent-stabilized unit that you shouldn't be in the first place, and you're keeping that from some other person that deserves it. Raking in hundreds of millions for trafficking kids destroys U.S. Catholic bishops' credibility on immigration. Yeah, the whole church is corrupt, right? That's why they call, why does the Catholic Church why does the Vatican create this person called the Pope, right? Who's the Godfather, who's, supposedly got the same power as God on earth or something, right? He's the father that talks to God, or the Godfather, right? It's where all the crime emanates from, the Vatican, a lot of this crime that you're dealing with, this element, right? Remember when we talked about some of the papal bulls that the Vatican creates, like not Opus Dei, sorry, that was just a group of people that were a religious group, but I was thinking about some of the papal bulls. One of them was I'll think of it in a second, where they just say, listen, we're the best people to run this world, we're the most capable, let's do it. And you saw that what the Jesuits do is they try to force Christianity into all these different countries like Japan and others, where they're horribly dealt with in some instances. Sometimes they're killed, right? But eventually it still spreads into the country almost every time. And so you need to look at different groups like this. Is it the Khazarian Mafia? Yeah. Is it the Jesuits? Yeah. If you're not talking at least about the Jesuits, you're only examining one end of the problem, one part of it, right? Like there's gangs problems in the United States. Sure, which gangs are we talking about? You want to talk about organized crime? How organized? Cartel level? Mafia? Italian Mafia? What? Russian Mafia? Different we have Ukrainian Mafia. We have all kinds of different organized crime groups that you've let come into the country from places like Russia, Ukraine, Bosnia, other places, Azerbaijan, all kinds of different countries that you're not even talking about, that are here, that are already in the United States. And now all of a sudden in New York they're saying, hey, we're going to make some group in the FBI here that's going to look into different organized crime groups and transnational groups. What are you talking about? You've never been doing that already? Haven't you been doing that for the last 25, 35 years? If not, then what the hell have you been doing? We've been infiltrated by multiple different organized crime groups, going back from Boss Tweed going forward. Right? You're talking about a religious institution that is trafficking human beings and for a profit, and that also owns lots of real estate, by the way. We're talking about the Catholic Church in New York City. Unruly Chicagoans throw snowballs at ICE agents as street turns into chaotic tear gas blizzard. This is the sad part about this, is these people are okay with defending illegal aliens that are in their state, some of whom are committing crimes, and they're willing to claim and treat those people as if they're citizens of the state when they're not, and give them the same rights and give them money. It just doesn't make any sense. It's a dereliction of the mayor's duty and the governor's duty that they're allowing this to happen. F grades handed to 14 colleges an anti-Semitism report card as Jewish students are forced to hide their identities. If any group of people in your school is forced to hide their identity because they're scared of a group of people that's on your campus, you're not doing your job. You're not protecting those groups. Whether they're Muslim, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Catholic, whether they're anything, Mormon, doesn't matter, right? They should all have the same protections and the same freedom, right? You know, you see in parts of Europe, all these Muslim guys get together and they go out in the street and they clog up the whole sidewalk and everything, and they're praying just in the whole sidewalk, take up whole areas of towns now. What are the other people supposed to do? I'm just supposed to walk around you? Do that in your house. Don't clog up my sidewalk and street with it. Don't call the prayer on 5 times a day in the area where I live. I'm not Muslim. I don't celebrate your religion. That would be like the churches would start ringing the bells at 5 a.m. on a Sunday. Hey, come to church. Wake up. What are you doing, man? Wait a minute. Oh, you want to ring the church bell one time, a bunch of times for a couple minutes because at 10 o'clock is when you're starting the sermon? Okay, well, that's one thing. Right? But you're not doing it at 5 a.m., are you? No. You're not blowing like a shofar outside the temple, the Jewish temple at 5 a.m. telling everybody to come to the temple, are you? No. So why do I have to hear it? Disappointed Trump declared Zelensky hasn't yet read peace proposal, and as Prez's son suggests he may walk away from Ukraine. I wrote, shame to all the schools that allowed outsiders to come infiltrate and make and scare some of the students on your campus. Shame on you for not defending those. And I hope all those students sue your college and you have to pay a lot of money out because you should be sued. Disappointed Trump declared Zelensky hasn't yet read the peace proposal. And you know that these Gen Z kids and these other kids, they get really affected by stuff like this, I think, more than like Gen Z would, or Gen X would. You know what I mean? That must be a really bad feeling when you get attacked by some people on your own campus, like just for your religious belief. House releases a $901 billion defense spending authorization that just passed the House. It's going back to the Senate, I think. House passed it already. $9 billion more than Trump wanted. So we're spending another $1 trillion that we don't have on what? Defense again. And this is just insane. What's the debt now? We're at 40 trillion pretty quick, right? We're almost at 39 trillion. Just add it to the growing debt pile. Just keep spending money you don't have. Just doesn't make any sense. We should have been in a completely different place right now. We're just not there. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I'm sorry. It's not what I would have foresaw this happening. Obviously, something happened to Trump at some point, or he never was who we thought he was. Because he's not doing any of the stuff I thought he would have done by now. We should have had the free energy. We should have had the med beds. We should have had all this stuff already. And we have nothing. People are tired of voting again for corrupt individuals. Yeah, that's why in Hong Kong, people just aren't voting anymore. It's the same thing in New York. I'm going to have to take one more break, guys. The coffee ran out. I know this has been a multiple break show, but that's how it goes in the big city sometimes. You know, sometimes you got to adapt. You have to overcome and survive, like the Marines teach, right? If you're in a situation you don't know what's going to happen next, you got to adapt. You got to figure out the situation you're in, adapt, overcome, and most importantly, survive. Don't panic. Don't keep your wits about you at all times, right? That's the thing I've always had trouble doing when the shit comes down, right? There's some people that panic and there's some people that don't panic. Try to be that person that doesn't freak out when the shit goes down. Because when the shit goes down, you need to have your shit together. You can't be freaking out, screaming, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, when, some crazy shit. Like when the trade centers was coming down, I wasn't running around with my head cut off going, oh my God. I was just trying to get home, man. That's all I could think about to do. Let me get to my cats. Let me make sure my cats and my house is safe, right? That's it. Let me just get home. Let me just try to get home, man. All I want to do is get home so bad. And I can't. I'm walking and I'm walking and I'm walking and I'm watching this thing just fall apart right in front of me and I can't get home. And once I got home, the second tower fell right in front of me and I said, oh wow. I mean, as if like it waited, And you could hear the pops of it going off. I'll never forget that day. That was a day that change my life pattern, because I just realized at that point what was going on in this country is something that was way more bad than I thought it was, and that obviously we're going to have a long battle to try to get rid of the forces that are doing this kind of stuff to us, because it wasn't just, I never understood the story never stuck with me. The original story never made sense to me, and it still to this day never did. And that's why people were checking into that, and people understood that, and people uncovered that it wasn't true. And that's, pushed a lot of people to start looking into a lot of stuff. The other thing was that a lot of stuff got lost that day. Paper documents got lost that were going to incriminate George Bush Sr. and the people in the Bush and others, right? A lot of paper documents, this is before we went all to computers, got destroyed that day. We could go on for 9/11 for a whole other show, so I won't bother you. I've talked about my 9/11 experience more than one time, so I won't bother you with it anymore. I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. My name is Ash. I live in New York, where I've always been. We originally started this show 5 years ago as We Are the News, WATN, right? And for years I did videos looking into many different subjects, some of which nobody else has ever covered, like things about Chiliad and Ghislaine Maxwell, certain other subject matters that most people won't talk about or fail to talk about. And I think over time, maybe those videos got enough views that people started doing their own due diligence and looking into things and looking at videos from people like Jordan Maxwell, Myron Fagan, other people like that, who showed you who the Illuminati was even back in the 50s and did huge documentary type records about it and talks about it. And people like Jordan Maxwell, since the 60s, has been documenting and investigating into different things like astrotheology, the Illuminati, and different religions and different things of the past, like the Egyptians and the Romans and different cultures. So friends, it's an honor to be here with you, to try to just be one small cog in that machine of trying to share information, to do it in a way where I'm not enriching myself, and to try to be somebody that can also talk a little bit about ascension and his own ascension process as this process is going on, and from 2020 to 2025, when we were lied to and kept in our homes for a fake virus, and how we struggled to try to tell people not to take that virus and try to take the vaccine, and how we were massively censored. All the years that we've been on this channel has been censored really from its inception on. It's been a really long journey. I feel like that's coming to an end finally, at least my part in it. Of course, we're not at the end of the story, and I want to get to the end, but at the same time, I also have to try to live some kind of a life. I never envisioned that I would do 6 years almost of news punditry shows, but I have, and I'm still going, and so I'm proud to say that I have been doing it all these years. I'm proud to say I've never profited from it, and I hope that for those all listening all these years, I really appreciate you. I just want to let you know that. And this isn't the end of this channel, but it is maybe the beginning of the end of it. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see how things play out, right? I've seen a lot of networks and I'm seeing certain people who I thought had way bigger followings than they do. Actually, they don't have much of a following anymore. Like these people like Nino Rodriguez, who, when you look on his Rumble, I have more followers than him, on Rumble at least. He has his own channel, but... So I don't think these people are really getting, these people really aren't as big as they were before. A lot of people have left their camp is what I'm thinking. And I don't know who they're listening to now, but it's not me. Anyway, it's an honor to be here doing this work. Maybe these shows are for people in the future more than they are for people now. But either way, it's an honor to be here doing it with you. And I appreciate all those people who stuck with me for all these years listening to the shows. It's an honor to be part of this, and a privilege, really. And even though sometimes I get down on the process and I get a little ticked off, I think anybody would, going through the process we're going through right now. So I hope you're holding together well. I hope you're observing without judgment. I hope you're trying to eat better and eat healthy. I'll be right back in one moment, and in the meantime, you can do some push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees, and this will be your last break. Okay, friends, thank you. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Thanks, friends. Sorry for the third break, but sometimes it's necessary, right? There's a lot going on right now, and I'm not sure where we stand anymore because, like I said in a couple of shows back, I'm not seeing the way that we win, right? I don't know how we win this thing. It doesn't look like from what Trump is doing that we're going to win because he's concentrated more just on the ICE stuff, getting the people out. But what about all the other stuff that could transform this? He's not doing that, right? In fact, he's doubling down on nuclear energy. He's saying he's going to commit to either revamping or creating, like, I don't know, 7 different nuclear sites. So he doesn't appear to be at all interested in allowing anything of Tesla's technology to come out. He's not interested in Tesla towers. He's not interested in 0-point energy. He's never mentioned it. Voting in Hong Kong election hits a record low as people stay home. People are tired of voting for corrupt individuals. It's the same thing in New York, where you keep giving us horrible choices for mayor. Nobody's qualified. They're either a political puppet or they're just not qualified at all, like the guy who was running, on the Republican ticket has no experience, and neither does Mamdani. President to host roundtable discussion and unveil $12 billion in aid to farmers. That's because China stopped buying their soybeans, and these guys are now sitting with a bunch of product, like, it's like a drug dealer, right? Has a bunch of drugs. And, nobody's buying them. Shit, well, mama, all the weed I grew, it dried out and went bad. I lost all my profit. What am I going to do? Well, I'll pay you off. Well, we shouldn't have to pay farmers aid at all. If everything is right and everything is proper, farmers should be able to make a profit on their crop, whatever it is. And we shouldn't be telling them what to grow. They should be able to grow whatever the hell they want to grow. That's how I see it. More than 100 bodies are discovered in organ harvesting slaughterhouse, hotel, and mortuary sealed off by police in Nigeria. So there is organ harvesting going on. They just found a place with 100 bodies. It usually goes on in more undeveloped nations like this that have either a completely corrupt government or militarized government or both, right? Is actually the most ideal. Like a militarized, corrupt government would be ideal, like an Idi Amin type government, right? Or something like that where, yeah, I'm a dictator, I killed off all the intellectuals who might get me in trouble. I killed off all those types of people that might be an enemy to me, and now I'm running everything like with an iron hand, right? I'm doing fake elections to make it appear I'm really getting elected, but I'm not. I'm actually ruling with an iron hand by fear and with the military's help. What about the organ harvesting that allegedly was going on in Ukraine? Open cover-up. Biden's FBI was not incompetent. That was one of the plot lines of the Alienist series I'm watching. Back in the day, before there was the abortion pill, and you have let's say you were a rich man and had a mistress, well, she might get pregnant, and then what are you going to do before condoms? Well, got to go to a place to take care of the baby, and some of those babies disappeared, right? Some of those babies never were found again, right? Some of those babies got sold. There might be some rich mother somewhere that can't have a baby that's willing to pay a pretty penny for one, especially if it's a pretty white baby, right? Back in the day. So that's part of the Alienist, and that's a book by Caleb Carr called The Alienist, if you want to read it. It's a cool book if you like New York history and books about New York. It's a cool book. It'll give you a lot of information about old New York. And they do a great job in the miniseries, too, in getting sort of that feel of old New York – with the special effects that they do. They do a great job. It's a good show. 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 It's a good show Nigeria secures the release of 100 school children abducted from Catholic schools. So this country is also abducting. There's people within this country that are abducting school children. There's people within this country that are also organ harvesting. Zoran Mamdani taps ex-con rapper who served 7 years for armed robbery as his criminal justice advisor on transition team. People are saying that's insane. Yeah, that is insane. Like, why would you do that? Does this guy have anything, what does he know about criminal justice besides the fact that he was a bank robber? And he served some jail time. Trump's Jersey girl, Alina Habba, resigns as U.S. attorney. So he gets this girl to become the U.S. attorney. And then she tries to get, what's his name, and do the case against the mortgage case against what's her name from New York, and it fails, right? And Comey, and she fails on both accounts, and then steps down. That whole thing was strange, and it's a political black eye for Trump at the least. Farm crisis erupts. Trump unleashes massive $12 billion rescue as soaring prices trigger panic. So I guess because there's something happened with the soybeans price. Is somebody manipulating soybeans? Because the futures of soybeans are traded on the markets, You can make a lot of money fucking around with the futures and with some of those things like soybeans, sugar, coffee. All these things are sold on the market, and you can buy futures in these things, right? Contracts and such. It seems to me that there's players that keep trying to make and manipulate these big illegal plays because they're running out of money, I guess. Like now there's another $1 billion, Powerball or whatever. Right? There's like been a bunch of $1 billion lottos that we haven't seen those in the past. Trump's just throwing money away like it's going out of style. $12 billion to the farmers, $903 billion for defense. Why do we need to spend that much money on weapons? It's obscene, isn't it? And while you have people suffering and dying in the streets, starving to death, shouldn't your priority be them? The homeless and the people who have no place to live? Furious anti-ICE protesters threw snowballs at the feds to protect Chicago Tren de Aragua gangbanger. I mean, that's who you're protecting. You're trying to stop ICE from removing dangerous drug gang dealers and drug gangs from your neighborhood, and you're fighting them every step of the way. You want these people to stay in your neighborhood. It just doesn't make any sense. Students form a human swastika on the California high school football field, call for annihilation of Jews, and Hitler-themed Instagram post. So that's what you call agitation propaganda 101, like we've been talking about. Hey, let's be edgy. Let's lay out a field and look, we'll make a shape of a swastika and everyone's going to go crazy. Who gives a fuck? You're just another one of the bigots that are all throughout this country. Big deal. It's not surprising that you're a bigot, is it? No, there's bigots of every race and every creed and color, right? Porn star Bonnie Blue faces up to 15 years in jail after being detained over bang bus stunt in Bali. So this girl's in trouble now. She may have violated some laws in Bali. She may have to go to jail. She's an idiot. I mean, why would you go to a place like that where you can get in trouble? Why don't you just stay in your own country and do it in some house somewhere? Trump ally to announce run for New York governor on Tuesday, setting up clash with GOP frontrunner Elise Stefanik. So they're going to run somebody against Stefanik. I don't know why. I thought Trump liked Stefanik, but he doesn't appear so. This guy's has no chance, but it's going to be harder for her to win now. Is Three-Eye Atlas a friendly visitor or a serial killer sent to poison us? Harvard scientist. I mean, look at the amount of fear porn that they've been producing around this crap is just unfreaking believable. I mean, I've heard there's alien life in there. I've heard it's changing colors. I've heard this, that, the tail changed, this changed. All right, where is it? Pull up. Where is it? I don't see nothing in the sky. What's it going to do? It's not supposed to come near Earth, so what's it going to do? We'll see. I think my best guess is it's giving off some kind of energy that's helping us. Maybe, right? that's stabilizing the planet. Because if you think about it, all these volcanoes going off, the planet should have probably been way more messed up by now. Like there should have probably been some tsunamis by now, right? You think about it, the amount of, and there never has been a big one. So I think something's stabilizing us some from outside. Is my guess. Zohar Mamdani's mayoral transition team misspelled the names of two controversial picks, including ex-con rapper tapped as criminal justice advisor. We've noticed that sometimes that happens when people's names are misspelled and then they do like a criminal act, right? But they're really the other name. Like Comey's name was Corny in some of the documents, remember? Remember early on they were saying there's corn ink, there's a certain kind of ink on the ballots, and these guys got caught, and because they did something with the ballots to make new ballots, they're going to get caught, but they never got caught. Even though they got caught shipping fake ballots from New York down to Philly or Pennsylvania. Shouldn't that have nullified the Pennsylvania election right away? Hey, wait a minute. Outside ballots just got found out to be shipped into your state from another state. And you certified that election as fair? When Trump lost a 600,000 plus vote lead over in 2 days? Come on, man. Are you kidding me? And you never, and somebody didn't say that election is no good? With all the other shit we know about Dominion and Smartmatic and Seidel. Trump threatens 5% tariff on Mexico for seriously hurting Texas farms and livestock by withholding vital water. You should do that. Should probably just invade it. Take the whole thing, man. What are they going to do? Stop you? They don't have anybody to stop you. You'd roll through there in a week. Maybe 2. How else do you deal with these cartels? What are you going to just keep blowing these boats up once in a while? Think that's stopping it? What about the cargo size stuff that's coming in through the ports and cargo shipping containers full of coke? That's not being stopped though, right? Yeah, 20,000 pounds is a lot. I'm not saying these are big busts, but they're not nearly as big as the tons that are coming in every day. And the other problem is the fentanyl, that some of the fentanyl is already in the country. It's being produced here. It's not being smuggled in, it's being made here. And networks are moving it around. You're not doing anything as far as I could see to stop that. They just figured out how to stop the whole thing in Kensington and Philly, but nobody was dealing with that whole time that was happening in Trump's first term. Then nobody would touch that area. It was all operating open, in the open, right? SBA orders more than 4,300 small businesses to produce financial records in fraud clampdown. Businesses that fail to comply with these requirements by January the 5th risk losing their eligibility to participate in the 8A program. So a lot of these small businesses now may be in trouble. They may have, been lying about certain documentation or certain things. DHS creates worst of the worst webpage of allegedly criminal illegal aliens. This page allows users to search for criminal illegal migrants who've been arrested across all 50 states and who have criminal histories that include homicide, assault, rape, child molestation, cruelty toward a child, drug trafficking, and armed robbery. Well, that's good because maybe you could, if there's people around your certain area or certain people employed, and you might want to check on a name. Former Colorado clerk will remain in state prison after federal judge rejects her bid for freedom. That's Tina Peters. So Tina Peters got indicted. Remember, she's serving 9 years. But the question is she going to flip on these people and tell what they told her to do? Was she told by these people to do what she did? Or did she just out of the goodness of her heart say, you know what, I think something's wrong with, I'm the clerk for this area, I'm going to break the law and I'm going to take an illegal photo of and she did uncover fraud, right? That's the thing. We know that. She did uncover fraud. Because when the Dominion people came in, they were going to make sure that those records they were changing it, right? It got changed after that. We saw so many different districts where there's 110% turnout. 105% turnout in this district, which is like, wait a minute, that can't happen, right? And there was so many other things about Maricopa County and all this other stuff that never got really properly investigated. And then remember the cyber ninjas came in, and the cyber ninjas was like just a front. They never uncovered really anything. Trump warns Ukraine is losing Russia war, calls for new elections despite wartime prohibition. Zelensky's already in an illegal third term. It's not elections. He should have been removed. He's not even legally supposed to be there. He's just basically usurped the throne, right? He's just not having elections. He's running the country without allowing there to be a political process, which is like a dictator, right? What are they hiding eventually was going to come out that was going on in this country? It has one of the most massive cave systems of any country on earth, by the way, naturally and man-made. Hamas not committed to peace plan or disarming, Israeli foreign minister says. So that's in the backdrop now, Gaza. No one's really talking about Gaza anymore. Right, but if you're thinking about Leviathan gas, you have to think about the deal that was helped to be struck by people like Flynn, who helped certain Turkish business interests get a piece of that Leviathan gas that's off the coast of Gaza. And we know that Flynn also worked for OSY Technologies, which is an offshoot of NSO Group. NSO Group, of course, is the spy agency, a spy network, a spy program. Right? They had a spy program set up that they ended up getting into the United States political system. Pegasus. If you remember, we did a bunch of digs on Pegasus Group. And on Pegasus, the software that NSO Group had. That is the most high-class spy stuff that they have out there. Once that's in your network, it's over. They got your whole thing, right, wrapped up. And several senators got got caught up in that, right? If you remember, they had Pegasus software on their phone and within their emails and their computer systems, which means that whoever's on the other end of that can see everything. Trump sends a shockwaves through Latin America as he hints that 2 more nations are in his sights for a Venezuela-style crackdown. So he can't go into... I don't think he can go into Venezuela. He may be able to, briefly. But that's going to be messy if he does. And then if you're going to go into a couple of other countries, then it really looks bad. Right? What are you going to do, take over Panama? Take the canal back? I don't know. What are you going to do? Right? Where's the drugs really all coming from? I always thought it was Colombia. They're the ones producing the majority of the coca. That's where the majority of the coca leaf is. That's where it's produced from and turned into cocaine. So why aren't we going into Colombia wholesale? Venezuela doesn't make the majority of the coke. Students form a human swastika. Talked about that. That might be double. I think I doubled that up. Sorry. Whistleblower claims Somalians committed mass Medicaid fraud in Maine. So this thing might spread out of Minnesota into Maine now, which is another state that has a big problem. Another state where Chinese illegal aliens have smuggled themselves over the border from Canada into Maine and are starting illegal weed grows. There's illegal marijuana. Chinese illegal marijuana grows going on in Maine, going on in Oklahoma, possibly other states that we're not aware of right now, like Texas. New York Times finally admits Biden border crisis was intentional, sort of. Yeah, it always intentional. The question is, was Trump in on it with him or not? I think that they were all in on it together. And then Trump comes back as the Trojan horse. He's the savior. It makes sense. I was talking about that years ago, and that's what I think came to pass, and we fell for it. Now he's talking about nuclear. Now he's talking about oil. He's not talking about the world you thought he was going to give you. That's not going to fucking happen. Not under Trump. I told you that before. It's going to come on the people that come after Trump. And if that's Vance, it might not even be Vance. It might not even happen then at all until after them, because he's part of the same system. So if Trump finishes this, it happens to be able to finish this whole term, which I don't think he's going to be able to do. I think something happens where either they find out that there's fake Trumps walking around and then he's removed or something. I don't know yet. I can't see the future. I can only sort of get visions sometimes of what I think might happen, or use my collective consciousness, or use my logical mind to figure what might happen. Right? What I'm seeing happen, right, is a lot of people are turning against Trump, even within his own, because he's not doing these certain key things, right? Like, why isn't he going into Area 51 and dealing with that? Why isn't he talking about disclosure in a way where you can see the UFOs if we have them, right? They're saying, he keeps saying, oh, there's going to be this big disclosure soon, right? He said, he teased you with the medbed thing. Everyone's going to get a card. Well, where's my fucking card? Where's my Doge check for $5,000? Where's my other $1,200 that you never gave me? And now you're saying you're going to give us another tax break for certain people that I never got any of this stuff. You owe me $7,000. Trump calls for nationwide AI standards, plans executive order. Advocates of the move have warned that a 50-state patchwork of AI regulations would limit innovation and jeopardize Americans' ability to stay ahead in the AI race. There has to be worldwide laws about this now, before it's too late. It already is too late, pretty sure, but we need to make sure that the AI is functioning in the right way. And when are we going to this new banking system already that these people have been lying to us, talking about it for 3, 4, 5 years? Oh, the quantum banking system's coming. It's right around the corner. Where is it? I don't see their currencies being revaluated. Do you? No. And the people, a lot of the people that have been pitching that to you, like Jared Rand, he's gone dark for 2 weeks now. He's the big guy that's talking about, yeah, you're going to get your money back in the revaluation and all this stuff. And he keeps talking about that he has this broad range replicator that he never shows a picture of, that never proves it's real. And he's asking people to give him $8,000 in gold and or silver, and whoever gives a certain amount the most will get one of those, will get a celestial chamber built. Who have heard some other people talk about the celestial chamber, which is not the same thing as a medbay. But if you've had this kind of stuff, how come you can't get it funded all these years? Why didn't you approach someone like a Musk or whatever, and you keep talking about the revaluation and it never happens? Just tired of these fucking people who come out of the woodwork and they just talk about shit that they can't prove any of it, right? And expect me to just sit here and listen to you for years and buy your products and shit. CARE's political arm is operated without legal authority across the United States, Watchdog report finds. CARE should be thrown out of this country, period. It shouldn't be allowed to operate here. New ICE sounds alarm as Illinois frees violent criminals. So the Illinois did the same thing as New York did. They said, oh, there's a bunch of people ICE wants to deport. Oh, you do? Oh, we'll just release them from jail. Don't worry about it. Here's a big breakthrough that just happened, though. They found a new fast-acting material that removes stubborn forever chemicals from water in seconds. So this is big because some bodies of water that were polluted with this stuff, you obviously can't use the water anymore, and it would kill everything in the water. Well, if you can get that out of the water and make it clean again, that means you could probably make a lot of other water clean again real quick. You know, the part of the problem with all this is what's going on is there's these groups of people that keep coming out and saying there's this huge network of space, super secret space program people, and they're fighting this super secret battle that nobody can seem to see. Why can't we see the fucking thing? If there's craft all around, show them so people wake the fuck up and we can get on with this thing. Who cares if some people can't hack it and they jump off a building? People are dying wholesale as it is already. You're wasting time allowing these people to kill us off and poison us off and do all this shit. And it's like we're never making the move. We're never disclosing the proper information. It's never coming out. I don't understand why. It just doesn't make any sense. There always seems to be this hidden hand at work that stops it. Every time we start to gain any kind of ground to any kind of disclosure or any kind of mass a wake-up event. We just need a mass wake-up event, right? We need something, a catalyzing incident. What I said years ago, right? We need a catalyzing incident. We never had that wakes everybody up all at once. Here's a spaceship, and here's Trump flying the fucking thing. It says Trump on it. I don't give a shit how you do it. But if you're going to disclose, do it already. If you're going to make Tesla towers, do it already. Stop reinvesting in oil and nuclear and gas. Elon Musk's Tesla Optimus robot takes a suspicious tumble during demo. So this guy can't even make a self-driving car. How's he going to make a robot that can do the dishes for you? Come on, man. It's already a robot that can do the dishes for you. It's called a dishwasher. It just doesn't move around and have arms, right? It has one task and one task only. What does it do? It cleans the dishes. Do we really need robots? Not really. Society went on for hundreds and thousands of years without them before. Opinion piece. What do I want for Christmas this year? A different mayor-elect. New York Post. Yeah, a lot of people are thinking that. Right? They want anybody but this guy is the mayor right now. This guy's going to not do a good job. There's a lot of people here that have a really bad feeling about it. And we'll just have to see how he leads. But by the people he's putting in early on, I don't have much hope. He's putting in a bunch of, former, people who were in other administrations who didn't do a good job. So I'll just leave it like that. Trump explodes at Zelensky for not accepting the peace deal as he warns Putin has the upper hand. I don't know what Zelensky's doing. I don't know what the hell Trump's doing. He should have not been supporting Zelensky for a long, long time ago. And instead, he gave him more weapons. He gave him tomahawks. He gave him all kinds of other stuff. And these guys still can't win. Left-wing Vermont school district raises Somali flag next to the American flag. You're not supposed to have any other flag at the level of or above the American flag on any lamppost in this country. That's how it's supposed to work. You should, if you're going to put up a Somali flag, it needs to go below the American flag, not at the same level as the American flag or above the American flag. That's not allowed, I'm pretty sure. Not on a school. You're supposed to have the American flag is always on top. No other flag goes above it. Period. Not in the United States, anyway. Florida designates Muslim Brotherhood Care as a foreign terrorist group. Well, they are. Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed in any of these states, but they are. We have a problem here. It's these corrupt judges, like people are saying. Right? The corrupt judiciary that's gone too far. Remember how people were always talking about that? They were right. They were also right that they do want to take your guns away. That's why they're doing all the shooters. How are they doing the shooters? I think they're jumping into bodies and doing it. It's got to be because there's not that many people that are MK Ultra. MK Ultra programming doesn't happen in a day. It takes a long time to MK Ultra somebody. You can't do it in a week. Well, maybe you could. I don't know. But you can't. It's something that takes a lot of work. You got to fracture someone's... unless they got better at doing it quicker, like they could just zap you with something and you're just obedient, right? I don't know, maybe. Who knows? That's what they always were trying to do. They wanted to just be able to flick a switch or say a word and you're compliant. If you're chipped, I think that can happen. Like in the movie when they chip a guy in his brain, that could be activated and then make you do something, right? Then you could be remote controlled by someone else. That's the other thing that we realize with the SynBio stuff, with some of the programs that they were working on. They've realized that they can if somebody's wearing a certain headset, I can control your movement from another part of from some other place with a device. Environmental groups ask Congress for moratorium on new data centers. So you're seeing these data centers are going up all over the world, different parts. They don't have enough energy to run all the data centers in the United States, so they're having to farm some of those out to other parts of the world where they can make these massive infrastructure things that will use massive amounts of electricity. That's the problem. They don't have a way to run these on just solar or anything. See, that's why it's funny, because all the things these people want to do, if they had created the Tesla towers and free energy, they'd be able to do. They'd be able to have unlimited data centers if they wanted then, under Tesla, right? Unlimited data centers running 24/7 free energy on massive, what are those things? Generators that would just be running for free all day long, powering these massive data centers. But they don't want to let Tesla technology come out because they don't want you to have a wireless world where I could just like turn the radio on and it works. I don't have to plug it in, or like I don't have to. I could pick up a device anywhere and just talk to my friend if I want for free all day long. Honduran ruling party wants presidential elections results annulled. The other thing about the Tesla tech is that, of course, the resonance frequency that it runs on is the same thing that we're talking about when you're using the copper wire and wrapping it around a wooden post and putting it in the ground, right? You're harnessing the Earth's natural resonant energy, and the Earth has its own resonating level that it resonates at, right? That can help your plants grow better and more. Well, that could also help your health and your health of all the animals on your farm if you have your whole farm is encased around by those copper wires and stuff, right? That's what people are starting to realize. I don't need weed killer. I don't need pesticides. I can have completely clean food with almost no bugs or any problem with any kind of pests. And I'm having increased crop yields. And my health is better. So it's like a triple win, right? Of course they don't want that. They want you eating foods that are covered in wax, pesticides, and other shit. They want you to be dead of cancer before the age of 60 if possible, right? Why? So I don't have to pay your fucking Social Security, man. It's just part of it. Judge orders release of Ghislaine Maxwell grand jury records. Warns no new information of any consequence. You notice that Chiliad never came out. Nobody talking about it. To this day. Nobody talking about her sister. Not even any of these pundits who claim to be super intelligent, who were former CIA or whatever they were, worked in a different agency. Never heard of it, right? Nope. Just me, right? Just one guy in his room. How come nobody else is talking about Chiliad? Does that part of the equation ever come, or is that the end game of this, where you see Ghislaine Maxwell get out of jail free card? Is that the last thing? Because maybe they don't want it to come out for some reason. Because you're seeing that by the pictures, right, that Trump was much more comfortable with Maxwell than you think, right? He's with her a long time. They may have been at some point romantically entwined. We don't know, right? I'm assuming no. She's not his usual type. He likes them with big breasts, yes, but he likes blondes. Now, Melania is introduced to Trump by a man named Paolo somebody, who I got to get into later. I had something about him. Paolo Zamperini, is that his name? I can't remember his name, but he was the one that introduced Trump to Melania, too. And Melania also knows Epstein at one point, does she? But we're not sure if she's hanging around with Epstein or she's just known to him as a friend. Maybe they know each other in passing at parties, etc. Corpses were found in 2 parked cars in New York City hours apart, and then they found a skull right near the Coney Island boardwalk in some weeds like near the boardwalk in Brooklyn. So that's 3 bodies in one day. One was just a skull and 2 are bodies. So that could be some gang type stuff. We're not sure. Nick Fuentes makes bigoted admission after Piers Morgan probes his sexuality. So it was a weird interview because a couple of things came out about this guy Fuentes, who I think that were interesting. One is that he's a 27-year-old virgin. And okay, I don't have anything against, you choose to be a virgin, that's your choice. But it says he finds women difficult, which I found odd. Like, what is that? What do you mean? All women? You don't know all women. You find some women difficult? Okay, in what way? That they won't sleep with you? A lot of these Gen Zs and Y people and stuff, they're not properly socialized because they grew up behind screens, right? They grew up on computer worlds, and that's the problem. When you're behind a screen at home all the time, you're not out in the real world meeting people. That's what Gen X used to do. We were out going to parties. We were out in clubs, and there were no people taking your picture every second. You were just in the moment all the time. Yeah, maybe you had a beeper or something, but besides that, you were in the moment. You weren't looking down at your phone on Instagram while you were in the club. You were actually looking around, meeting people. And I'm like seeing videos where people are like, what was that like? It must have been great, like back in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, when you could just like hang out with your friends and like, yeah, it was fucking great because you were in the moment. What if you're looking down at your phone and you miss your future husband that you would have caught and locked eyes with and been like, whoa, who's that guy? Right? Or maybe went over and talked to her, he talked to you. Instead, you never met him because you didn't even see him. You weren't in the moment. The moment's all you got, right? You can't live in the past. It's already gone. The future's not here yet. All you got is now. They took now away from you. They took now away from you with that phone, didn't they? We need to go back to the dumb phones. There should be a new rule, dumb phone only. There should be dumb phone only groups that hang. No phone groups. How about that? We go out as a group, a fun group of friends. We go out together and everyone leaves their phone home. Everybody. That's the rule. How about that? Those people are going to have a freaking blast. They're also going to be freaking out because they don't have their phone. It's like a drug addiction. It really is. It's like anything. Like, when people you say, oh, well, weed's an addiction. Sure, yeah, you're rolling up the joint, breaking up the weed. It's an addiction. Same thing as you're fixing up your shot if you're a heroin addict. It's a ritual, right? You get addicted to the ritual. Smoking a cigarette, same thing. You're holding it in your hands, bringing it up to your mouth. You're knocking the ash off. I get it. I was addicted to smoking for 32 years. I smoked cigarettes for 32 years. You can break any addiction you want. That's how powerful your mind is. All you got to do is say, I want to do it. I'm going to go do it. And then you go do it. See yourself doing it, already doing it. So I don't see the draw of Fuentes. And a lot of it turns out he has a lot of bots following him. So he's not as big as people are saying. A lot of these so-called pundits, they're not as big as they're saying, right? I can go out and buy a bunch of bots if I want and make my Rumble look like I got 50,000 people. But I might only have... What I really got is 2,600 people in 5 years. Some of these sites got tens of thousands of people almost right away. 18 million Americans told to stay indoors as the air fills with toxins linked to cancer and heart attacks. So what are they talking about? They're not talking about chemtrails. They're talking about forest fires and other shit. But you're not telling us about the barium, the strontium, the aluminum that's falling down from the sky and getting into our crops and our food and our skin. They have people go out at night with lights and shine them on and they see particles falling out of the sky. Like, what is that shit? That's not supposed to be there. Rainwater isn't supposed to have any aluminum in it, right? No. There's people who have testified already to this stuff, that there's been strontium found in groundwater. There's been aluminum levels in groundwater that shouldn't be there at all, which means you are putting aluminum into the atmosphere. And you still are talking about doing it with Bill Gates even now. Regime meltdown. Another high-ranking Maduro insider provides Trump with a shocking tell-all. So I don't know what's going to happen. I see Maduro falling down at some point. He's gone. He's going to have to succumb to the pressure. Either somebody shoots him, he gets killed, he disappears, I don't know. Maybe he'll go into an alternate universe where the rest of them are probably hiding. Then I saw Pepsi was ditching hundreds of fan-favorite drinks and snacks in a brutal shakeup. Yeah, because a lot of this stuff is crap. Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos. A lot of the companies that they own, they just have a crap product that's filled with sodium and it doesn't even taste that good. Fritos are pretty good, some of them. But, you can make a tortilla chip that doesn't have to have all this crap in it. That's my point, right? We need to get back to people making natural products and natural ingredients again. Using the right butter, not this fake margarine. Stop coating our apples and fruit with wax. Stop putting all these chemicals into our food, right? Stop eating boxed foods that are filled with sodium and cholesterol and all kinds of shit. Trump UFO disclosure predicted to come in just days after mysterious insider tip. So I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it, right? You could have done this a long time ago. Go to Area 51, open up some of those secret, you got secret hangars where you got stuff. I'm pretty sure. If you watched X-Files, they showed you a bunch of stuff, right? That's just floating in there. I think that some of that stuff's real. Show us some of these inventions. Show us 0 Point. Release all this stuff. Force Ford to put these things in their car so that the other car companies have no choice but to put it in theirs and give everybody 100 miles a gallon. All you got to do is make one company do it and the rest will have to do it, or else they won't be able to compete and everyone will buy that car. Imagine if Ford came out with a truck that was $25,000 that got 100 miles a gallon for 25 grand. People be buying that thing all fucking day. All fucking day. I'd be lining up to try to get one. There'd be waiting lists upon waiting list upon waiting list. And watch how fast Japan and China would have to capitulate. That's why they killed the guy that created it. Think they want you getting 100 miles a gallon? No. They want you getting 30 miles a gallon. Lenin Moreno is the 5th ex-Ecuadorian president charged with corruption. So you have countries like Ecuador, like Mexico, like Venezuela, like Colombia that are completely corrupt and have been for multiple generations, unfortunately. Bolivia, unfortunately, is another, where they tried to monetize the water, remember? Bolivia's got how much gold? Remember that. Why are the people so poor? If you got 12 tons of gold or 6 tons of gold, why are you any of your people not have adequate access to water? They should. They should. Where's their gold? That's their gold. Where is it? Well, if I have a communist type, person leading the country, they don't consider that gold to be the people's gold. They consider that to be the party's gold, right? And that's what you're dealing with all this new sun, with all this, new day shit that they're coming out with, right? With all these different state seals have the rising sun in it. Well, what does the rising sun represent? It represents communism. The new day, right? A new world order. It was really it was communism all along is what they wanted. They wanted world subjugation. The only way we can do that is through communism. That's the best, or socialism, which is pretty close to communism. Right? You don't own anything, especially land or assets, or you can become rich, and you work for the best interests of the collective. You grow food for the collective, you work for the collective, you're supported by the collective, and that's all you ever are going to be. Pope Leo hosts Volodymyr Zelensky in Castle Gandolfo. So why has this been allowed to go on for so long? One. And two, that's the real guy you got to go talk to, is the Pope. That's the head of all the criminal activity that goes on in the world, is the Pope, as far as I can see. Or at least he's the head of the largest criminal network on earth, let's put it that way. Because what the mafia was originally created for was to settle land disputes, right? With land barons in Italy rose to become a criminal enterprise that had 3 different heads. Right? These are very hardcore groups that became organized crime groups that became so powerful that they took over parts of the government and assassinated certain Italian government officials over time. 'Ndrangheta and other groups like them became extremely dangerous, extremely secretive. And were so secretive at one time that nobody even knew they existed. Like in the United States, for many decades, the United States government did not even use the word mafia. It wasn't used until the early 50s period, in fact, because the fact that an organized mafia was running inside the United States, nobody wanted that to be known. And it wasn't known on a public level until well into the 50s. The word mafia wasn't even used before then. So you had organized crime groups that were Jewish, Italian, and Irish that were operating in the 1880s period going forward. They were organized. In the 1890s, 1900s, when you start to see big Italian gangs start to come into fruition. So the U.S. government didn't have any idea that they did have an idea that they were running. They just did let it happen. Then you also had groups like the Black Hand that were, bombing certain people's businesses and blowing up their businesses and kidnapping people. Trump to force all foreign tourists to provide 5 years of social media history before entering the U.S. That's a good idea. That way, if you're online spouting off, hey, we hate the infidel and all this shit, well, we're going to see it and we're not letting you in. That'll probably save a bunch of lives. Democrats win Miami mayoral election for first time in 30 years as another Trump-backed candidate defeated. So they got a Democrat into the mayorship of Miami. Here's the Jordan Maxwell video I was watching just the other day. It's called Order Out of Chaos. It was a Laughlin UFO mega conference that took place, I believe, in 2019. He's a little older there. He's not at his best mentally. He's starting to fade, but he's still the Jordan Maxwell of old. And if you watch that video in its entirety, I would think that you might question whatever your religious belief happens to be, whether it's any of the three major religions of the day. You would probably are going to be questioning a lot of what you have been reading and hearing over the years. I sure did after listening to some of Jordan Maxwell's videos. So you can check out Jordan Maxwell. If you go to my NPNP News YouTube, I have about 100-something videos there that you can that are like I thought are interesting videos. Some of them are ascension related that you might not be interested in. Some of them are about, reptilians and greys, aliens, and then some of them are things like Jordan Maxwell and other different speakers who I think are interesting. Zelensky offers to hold elections in 3 months with Western security. So he did have to capitulate and say he's going to hold elections. Are those going to be rigged? I'm assuming so. Right? I'm assuming so. Because you still never got rid of the bad element that's in the United States, and that's who's controlling over there. So, and until we deal with our, there's these people that keep saying, oh, the United States is going to be part of Canada, the Benjamin Fulford group. They seem to be falling away too, that their information is no good. People are seeing that it's no good, and people are starting to question these people and say, well, where are you getting this information? Because a lot of the stuff that you're saying is going to happen, it never happened. The United States is not part of Canada. Why would it be part of Canada? That would be a big economic loss for the United States to have to fold itself into part of Canada. We produce a whole lot more food than Canada does, a whole lot more oil and I believe in gas than Canada does, although they have their own oil. They probably got more timber than us. Somali student in Minnesota threatens to pop ICE agents in expletive-ridden viral rant. Well, he then had to, after extreme backlash online, and he probably realized, shit, the FBI or someone's probably going to be at my house soon, he went online and recanted that statement and apologized. Right? If you go online and say, I'm going to start popping like ICE agents as soon as I see them on my block, and they search your background and find out you got a gun license, you might have a gun, and you start saying stuff like that online, you can probably expect somebody to visit you. Secret Service maybe, FBI, both, ICE, right? So you need to be very careful what you say online. You're making threats like that. Comedian Andy Dick sparks fear of overdose after being found unresponsive on LA street. Thank God they found Andy, because he was 3 sheets to the wind. He was about to check out. Very close. Narcan's an amazing... Isn't it amazing that they figure out how to make morphine 100 times stronger with a drug called fentanyl? But hey, I got this other drug I created called Narcan. So don't worry if you OD on this shit, or you OD on heroin, or any opiate. We'll just throw this up your nose and you're fine. We'll bring you right back from the depth of death. From the doorstep of death, literally. I've seen people literally be on the doorstep of death from fentanyl. And just, boom. Couple minutes, back up, wide awake, walking around, normal, no problem. It's amazing. Literally amazing. But sad also the fact that you have a drug that gets people that fucking messed up, and that if you get your dosage just a little bit wrong, you're dead. Which is also the thing of a heroin, also the danger of being any kind of a heroin addict, same thing. Get a hot shot, get some bad stuff. Maybe they cut it wrong with something bad, get a bad shot and you're dead. Since it takes one. Ilhan Omar blasted over resurfaced comments on Somali influence in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, it was done under Obama. He allowed these Somalis to flood in, including Omar and her father, who was a Omar's father was part of the government that had been subjugating its own people for many years and doing illegal acts. They barely got out of the country with their lives, is the story I read. Social Security Administration's ripped for sending $186 million to dead people. You're paying actual ghosts. Yeah, that's been going on. And those ghosts are also voting, right? And they've been voting for a long ass time. New law could drastically reduce sentence of Brazil's Bolsonaro. So Bolsonaro's in jail for like 20 years. Plus, coup-paying CEO resigns in wake of major data leak. CAO named interim chief. UPI News. In prison, former Colorado clerk Tina Peters seeks pardon from Trump. I wrote, Mike Gill has an interesting outlook on Tina Peters. He thinks that the reason Juan O'Savin/Wayne Willott and others in that group are screaming for Peters to be released is because they are afraid she will sell them out and become state's witness against whoever she was working with. Some believe it's Flynn and his network along with people like O'Savin because they were so heavily meeting with her all the time. She was hanging out with people like Sidney Powell and them, right? That's the whole network with like the Lynn Wood angle of this thing. The people like Lynn Wood and Patrick Byrne, who people like the Tory Says Show were trying to say, oh, these people are like the good guys, right? But I don't believe they are. Those people are CIA plants. I know Byrne is probably CIA for sure. If not, he's being used by them. He's claiming he has contacts in Venezuela. He's at the middle of this whole thing. It just doesn't make any sense. This guy's obviously lying. Unearthed photo of Trump cozying up to Ghislaine Maxwell at Heidi Klum's bash reignites questions about his links to Epstein and favoritism toward the jailed madam. I wrote, I was posting photos from this party years ago. This is the one I think that Andrew was also at. This is the 2000 Heidi Klum party. Halloween party, right? Where Trump, of course, doesn't wear a costume. Yeah. Here's Ghislaine with Trump and Melania back in 2000. This is the same party Andrew was also at. Here's Andrew right here. There's Heidi, and here's Ghislaine. Of course, Andrew doesn't have a costume on either. This is, again, we're talking 2000. Maxwell was at the star-studded event in a bleach blonde wig and leopard print jacket. Then she's got the umbrella. She's holding something. This has to be comms. She's got the umbrella out. She's holding something. She's not even walking in the sun. So the question's going to be, now all of a sudden they say, oh, this stuff has been out there for 25 years. It's been sitting out there. People who have been alive long enough remember it. That's why I was posting these photos. Just to show you, hey, these guys were all hanging out together for a long-ass time. Remember, she starts dating Epstein 91 is the first time they're seen. That's 9 years before this photo's taken. They're hanging around for 9 straight years. Going to party after party, being seen in public. And you're telling me he's completely clean? There's nothing in the Epstein files that connects to him? I don't buy it because we know he's having secret meetings with Epstein over at Epstein's house because of the housekeeper's testimony that he made them multiple dinners. House passes $900 billion defense bill with pay hike for troops. Golden Dome tech and more. They got you under the Golden Dome. Feds roll out first of its kind New York task force to fight evolving transnational organized crime. Are you telling me you had nothing? You had no people looking into organized crime from other countries in the United States for the last 250 years? I find that hard to believe. There was no group of people that was tasked with doing that. Who's been looking into the mafia all these years? Who's been looking into transnational drug cartels? The DEA or somebody? I guess it doesn't sound like you've been looking into it too hard. Are you just coming to the realization that there's mafia in the United States? Well, you should have known that 80 years ago. Really 100, but whatever. Ilhan Omar blasted over resurfaced comments on Somali influence. Musk suggests she committed treason. Well, I think she committed treason when she was ballot harvesting and paying people to do that. She committed probably treason when she married her brother and then let him become a citizen. She, at the least, should be deported and removed from Congress, as far as I'm concerned. NVIDIA builds an AI chip tracking software while facing pressure over China smuggling. Now, they're going to be able to know where every chip is? That's crazy. They're going to be able to know where you are every second, right? They already do. It looks like they want to push us towards what China has with the social credit system, right? But it's not going to take place in the United States. Why? Because the United States people don't like stuff like that. They don't like being told what to do, for one. They don't like being forced to not use cash or to use systems that they don't think are good. Like using a digital coin system, right? They want to basically do the same scam where they can create as much money as they want. They just want to do it digitally for the next 100 or 500 years. And this is the point where we need to stand up and get rid of these people, because if we don't, they're going to cement the system in place where we can't get rid of them. New York socialist Zoran Mamdani appoints convicted armed robber to public safety transition team. Like, how does that make any sense? So we've seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela for some reason. Do we think that there may be drugs in there? There could be. Hey, they could say it's oil, but what if the whole inside's filled with coke? Homeland Security signs deal to buy 6 planes for deportation. So that you need more planes to deport people? Don't we have enough to do it? I guess not. You had to buy 6 new planes just to do that? Okay. At least 33 people killed and 76 injured after Myanmar military bombs a hospital. So why would you do that? Airstrikes by Myanmar's military government killed at least 33 patients and staff and injured 76, many of them critically, at a public hospital in Rakhine State in the west of the country. Ahead of elections, 2 500-pound bombs were dropped. Wow. That does a lot of damage. The Navy is allocating $448 million to modernize its shipbuilding with AI. That can't end well. I don't think we should be using AI for war, but they already are. So this is, of course, the article about cozying up to Ghislaine with Trump. I mean, it's not like these two were very close together. He knew her well before he met Melania. For years he knew Ghislaine, right? You can see his arm is around her waist. These people know each other. They're close. He's always wearing the red tie, even back then. Is this the real Trump? Is he 6'3"? Because that would mean that Melania is 6'1" with heels and that she's 6'1" with heels. And I don't think Ghislaine's that tall, right? So either she's wearing 6-inch heels or something like that, which she might be. Doesn't look like she is, though. Or is Trump really 6'3"? I don't know. One version of him is. Because here she looks like almost the same height as Andrew, right? What you never almost see is Trump and Andrew together, right? But now, obviously, Trump and Andrew were at this thing together. Andrew's been to Mar-a-Lago. We also know that because we've seen pictures of Andrew at Mar-a-Lago with Epstein, the famous picture where it's Trump and Epstein and Andrew's on the side. So that's about all I got for you today, friends. I hope you're doing well. Almost a 3-hour show, a lot of articles. That was 170 different links that we covered almost. So you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to flood the zone with information, keep you disorganized, keep you not talking about Epstein files, keep you not talking about the real connections that these people have together, that these people have known each other a very long time. And Trump doesn't want you to know that, how far back he goes with people like Ghislaine, how far back he goes with people like Epstein, who he was showing off for in Mar-a-Lago. You could see how he's showing off. Look at my fiefdom. Look at all these women I got. I could have any one of those on the dance floor I want right now. Which one should I choose? Which blonde with enormous breasts should I choose. By the way, be careful on Instagram. I tell you what. If you like one of those big booty models that that are all over Instagram, the algorithm will assume that you want more big booty models in your feed, and then all of a sudden your feed is just fitness chick after AI fake fitness chick. And then they have these AI models now who have just these features that can't be real, like, you know, like H-cup breasts with like a 24-inch waist. You know? And just women with proportions that just do not seem real and are not real. So you got to be careful on Instagram with what you're liking. The algorithm will mess with you. There's a lot of AI out there right now that's not labeled AI, so just so you're aware. I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPNP News, signing off for now.